Hello?
Hello?
You'll see him in your nightmares, you'll see him in your dreams. He'll appear out of nowhere, but he ain't what he seems.
Everybody's a suspect!
You'll see him in your head on the TV screen. Hey buddy, I'm warning you to turn it off. He's a ghost, he's a god, he's a man, he's a guru. You're one microscopic cog in his catastrophic plan, designed and directed by his red right hand.
Hello, good evening to everybody. Good evening, this is JohnCat79, aka Chris. I'm my usual lovely co-host, Derica, aka Dark Neon.
Hey, I'm still alive.
Yes,
Barely made it both physically and technologically.
yeah, yes, we were almost done in by phone technology at the moment, but we're still here. We're gonna make sure we do this. So, yeah, well, thank you for deciding to click on this because we're here to as per tradition, hype up an upcoming release, and in this case, that would be, a big franchise that has actually endured for 30 years coming this December, which is impressive for any franchise to have that much longevity. So, but this franchise we're about to cover does posit one question: what makes a good scary movie?
Well, it usually tends to be a lot of ambiance, mood, lighting, music. Generally, you need a good hook for something. And then sometimes there's also a particular face that carries the iconography, but also a good slew of characters that are either going to be cannon fodder or going to be rising up to the occasion.
Right. Most of all, basically, the idea that all good horror movies ask is, what if that were me? Like, what if I was in that situation? Because you always get those people that always say, well, if I was, oopsie, there it goes again, it's looping. Like, I would always go, if it was me in that situation, I wouldn't do this or that. Because, let's face it, the part of the thrill of these horror movies is seeing, okay, I know not to do that. So, like, in a zombie situation, I know not to, you know, uh, focus on body shots. Maybe I'll go for the headshot if that applies to this thing. Or if you're in a dark haunted house movie, most of the time you would say don't go there with it. But if I were to go in there, I know I wouldn't be doing this to upset the ghost or get in a corner or whatever. So I mean that's part of the fun of these movies is the what if that was me? Would I make it? I can tell you right now, 90% of the horror movies I watch, if I'm not doing the sensible thing, I'm going to be like the first or second Joker out. I'll tell you that right now. I'm being honest.
Yeah, I don't know how I'd manage personally, but I could definitely tell you that I would not go down like as a whimpering bitch.
Yep. But yeah, a good scary movie usually has these key ingredients: a villain you can fear, a cast you can root for, and a hook that keeps you to stick around. Because if it's a movie where like everyone does, you're just there to see meat get thrown around. That kind of becomes old after the first few kills, unless you're really into that kind of stuff. I mean, for example, recent films like say, I mean, there was a time when Saw and Hostel movies were accused of just being nothing but glorified torture gore porn, where you're not there to see these people, try to make it out. You're here to see what sick, sadistic ways can we mess up someone this time around. So I mean, but horror is varied. There's always differences that'll like that something applies better to one. Like a supernatural horror is more different than a cerebral horror, which is more different than a slasher film, which is more different than versus nature film. That kind of stuff.
Okay, hang on. Let's quickly pause here. I'm gonna try to test.
All right, I'm gonna go
Is
ahead and I'm gonna even though this is from my Resident Evil screen, it still applies. So even though Randy says we're not supposed to do this, we'll be right back. Well, hey,
yeah, we can join in.
we made it back, and we didn't have an untimely demise yet. So we said we'd be right back. We tempted fate with the rules. Alright, but yeah, but we of course we're talking about the Scream franchise, which is all about horror movies, horror rules. Do this, don't do that, that kind of stuff. And like I said, we're celebrating the fact that it's turning 30 years old this very year. I mean, technically it won't turn 30 until December, but we're getting a new entry, so why not just ring in the holiday early?
Yeah, especially since it's kind of funny to look back on how much this franchise is pretty much like it basically like came out the year my own little brother was basically born.
So,
So I'm basically only 3 years older than this franchise.
yeah, I mean, I get reminded of my age every time Sonic has to roll out a big anniversary banner. But yeah.
I, I'm literally directly 1 year prior to uh Sonic 3 being released in North America.
And also, you're within a few months of Jurassic Park being a thing. So, but anyway, the point is though is that let's wind the clocks back a couple of decades where the horror movie genre was going through a bit of a renaissance in the 70s, being like more cerebral horror, your Rosemary's Babies, your Exorcists, and even a little more grittier and hard edge like your Texas Chainsaws, or even going to the realms of space with Alien. And then enter the 80s where we get like the more cheaply produced
Ups,
slasher films.
more ambitious even. Let's just say the 80s. Like there's like a whole documentary trilogy that really basically tells you that the 80s was pretty much where horror thrived in a big way, especially with the certain hits like Nightmare on Elm Street being uh, started up by Wes Craven, and then other franchises like Prom Night and The Fog, Terror Train. Like these things kind of shaped the way people think of when they think of horror. But unfortunately, there is this a little tiny little problem where, like, if you give people more, they'll come, but the residuals start to get. There comes a point where the residuals start to come back laxing, where people start saying, I mean, I know how this goes. It's like same song and dance. What's different about this? Why should we even go?
Well, yeah, so horror was in an interesting spot in the 90s because a lot of the old Vanguard franchises were seeing entries that were probably not considered stellar. And probably some of them are on their
That's
last
putting it
legs.
lightly.
I mean, Jason Goes to Hell was supposed to be the
I
topper.
I think the only franchise that was actually doing decently a okay would be the Child's Play movies. But even then, even at least at part three, they were going like, okay, this is kind of getting a little bit silly,
Yeah.
and that's always the problem. It's like it's with horror, it's like you want to be. You always have this weird problem if you want to be like take it seriously, but then you also don't want to take yourself too seriously.
Yeah.
Like you still need kind of a fun factor, and that's always like a weird line that you got to figure out. Which I think people in the night movies in the early '90s kind of had a little bit of a problem with that.
But yeah, it was like people thinking, well, at this point, the guys that we're supposed to be scared of have become our collectible items, our plushes, our little rubber T-shirts. I mean T-shirts, rubber stamps of Freddy Krueger, Michael Myers, all those guys. The horror guard of the vanguard of the old days is now considered old hat. And most critics are like, can these films just die already? Because they're just like you're cheapening the art. You know how Martin Scorsese kind of said, "Well, I don't really count the current superhero genre as it's not true cinema. It's more like roller coaster rides." Well, back in the horror days, they were saying how like this stuff is just cheap latex trash with people that can barely act and a lot of like ridiculous concepts. Hockey players coming back to life. Angry driver rates. So many stuff that would be considered, some people would turn their noses above. Gone were the days of prestige horror, like The Exorcist being a big time director taking a supernatural horror novel and turning it into like, cinematic legends. So I guess by this point, even like, and then I guess horror directors were tired of getting the flack for, we had another massacre happen in this place. Are these six slashers to blame?
Yeah, that definitely doesn't help. So there was kind of a little bit of a law. I think the biggest genre that was having a little bit of a hard time to keep around was definitely the slashers. And you could definitely feel it when you watch movies like freaking Jason Goes to Hell or
Freddy's dead.
Freddy's Dead: The Final Nightmare. Sure, you get the occasional like oddballs that kind of like keep giving you a good decent measure, like Wes Craven's New Nightmare. But that's really just it. They're just random moments.
But here's the thing, though. Sometimes, I mean, people don't want to look at a scary movie of a guy with supernatural powers coming after you when all you gotta do is look out your window and see something scary all the time. Home invasions, gang wars, just stuff that is just for some people going into the real horrors of life is like more for them to say like why am I watching this because life is scary as it is. I mean
That's pretty much how the original Halloween got its big zeitgeist when it first came out because it basically felt as real as you possibly get. Like, what if there was like just some deranged like killer that just stalked all these babysitters in this quiet suburb during a quiet Halloween night?
or Texas Chainsaw with its isolation theory of what if you went out there lost in the woods and the people you picked up were like the most insane cannibals you've ever met. I mean, I think that's like taking Deliverance to the next level when you see stuff like that. So you're right. Most great horror has some of its roots in real real happenings or real inspirations. Like Wes Craven getting inspired to make a scary guy in the night was inspired by him just looking out his window as a child one day and seeing this mysterious dude in a corner who might have noticed him and made a scary gesture that made him go. Like that stuck with him for years. So eventually that would turn into someone like Freddy Krueger for him.
Well, along with the story that you heard about like this teenager that just refused to sleep had like nightmares. So one night he just like had a bizarre freak out nightmare and just like literally passed out, and the parents found like a caffeine pills and a coffee machine like tucked away under his bed as if he was like literally trying to fight sleep. And that
Like all
yeah,
this is detailed.
I really do not want to know what the real life instance of what was going on there, because I fear if I know the truth about that, that's gonna haunt me.
Yeah, but
So
all
I'd
this
rather not have that.
can wonderfully be seen in that fantastic documentary "Never Sleep Again." But okay, so we're getting sidetracked, but that is a Wes Craven property. But point is that looking at the research here, it says that Mr. Kevin Williamson, the fellow who birthed the script that became this scary movie, was had just sold one of his first scripts, Teaching Miss Tingle, which was based off the book Killing Miss Tingle, which I remember reading. That's actually quite good. And of course, in real life, you got the whole, there was like talking about serial killers and all that stuff, and true crime. And to this day, you still get people who are obsessed with true crime stories, murder bodies, this and that. So back in the day, he's probably watching this, and then that made him think about, well, this is kind of scary.
And then he gets spooked for a few minutes, like his window is open, and he's arming himself with like his own kitchen knife. And at a point, he decides to just call his friend and just like kind of tense his nerves down. And the phone call, funny enough, diverts into just a stirring conversation about like horror movies, like serial killers, like Freddy Krueger, Jason Voorhees, Michael Myers. Then, then at night, apparently another nightmare spooked him that he like got inspired to do pretty much the infamous opening act that we all know and love.
And
And he literally penned this entire script while listening to the soundtrack of Halloween.
And like you said, there was one. Every script has a good hook, a good line you're trying to build. For Alien, it was the fact that this thing emerged out of someone's chest. That was the big hook. Like, oh shit. For this one, it was one particular line that is very great, quoted by the killer at the end, saying, "Movies don't create psychos. Movies make psychos more creative," which I was supposed to be arguing. Like, again, we said, you had all the people saying whenever another stabbing or knife thing would happen, it'd be like, oh, was it this slasher film after dark, all that kind of stuff. And to this day, that kind of, shaking, finger wagging is now transferred more to
And
stuff like video games and stuff. But at the time, I'm pretty sure. Like, I remember during the "His Name Is Jason" documentary, no, the Many Lives of Jason Voorhees on Jason X's special features. There was Tony Anthony. He was the founder of Fangoria, as a talk show, saying, stopping banning horror movies isn't going to make the rape rate drop at any point. He said, like, I remember Robert Englund in an interview which says that one thing he gets tired of hearing. It was a book called Out of the Shadows, I believe. It was talking about horror creators and stuff and actors. And he says one thing that made him go unbelievable is that there's some people who like to put this up to the violence in our society, and he scoffs, going, "The violence in society? What the hell was Attila Hun or Hitler watching in their day?" Apparently, it was Daffy Duck or something like that. But the point is, though, is that
actually, it's Donald Duck that was doing the Hitler Heil.
oh yes, but yeah. So the thing is that he ended up writing a script, and here's the funny thing: everybody took no time in telling him, no, just there's people who would see the script, but they're just going like, I guess some just couldn't see the appeal. That he had to shop it around and stuff until eventually, the Miramax and the Weinsteins decided to like go ahead and say, hey, well, why not? But like I said, he had a script. He had a thing that where the characters in it are the audience. They're characters who are savvy to the rules of horror films that that end up getting put in horror film situations, but they have dialogue and references that if you are like a horror aficionado, you'd be like, oh yeah, I get it. Like, we were rewatching it, and one line that still makes her giggle is when the call asks Sydney Prescott if she likes scary movies, and she says they're all the same thing. Some big-breasted bimbo who can't act ends up running up the stairs when should be going out the front door. It's insulting, and I think that's a play on how some people who don't understand horror movies always think like, oh, these movies tend to be misogynistic, sexist romps that are, just power fantasy, rape. Like, it takes every critic, like everything that people threw at horror movies, it gets turned on its head in this movie. That's probably what made it so appealing.
Exactly. And the fact is, there also is the dialogue is a little bit more sharper. It's video. It's not like people are just stupidly like looking to get into these situations. In fact, the situations are purposely like going out to find them.
And they even pointed out their things, like when one of them's asking who's there, the angry killer in the call asks, "Don't you ever watch scary movies? You never ask who's there. That's a death wish. You might as well actually go outside and investigate a strange noise," he says sarcastically. Like, how many times have we seen that where somebody hears a noise and they have to go and look at, we're like doing the whole don't go in there, like that's kind of the thing that Scream was pointing out.
Too many times.
But yeah, so eventually he did find a home, and people saying, okay, we see potential in this scary movie, so we'll go ahead and Big it. But then they also shopped it around at every horror director that was big in the market at the time. Hell, you had Raimi get it across his desk. You've had Carpenter, like all these, these names that are heavy hitters in horror today. But most of them were like, I don't know. Then you had even Wes Craven, the guy who eventually got this, was like, I didn't want to, do another scary movie because the last one just didn't land. So he's like kind of feeling like trapped by the genre, I believe.
Yeah, but knowing Wes, he does like to see the little bit of a meta commentary, and I'm pretty sure he might have like had another go at the script, looking at it, going like, well, it's on one hand, it's not going to be bogged down by expectations of a supernatural killer, so I don't have to worry about that. And on the other, this could be a little bit more smarter in the meta context than what I was going for.
It's so funny. So, like he says, here's what it eventually came down to. One, he liked the material, but he didn't want it to be too gory because he's getting tired of being labeled as all these splatter films and shit. And I think he figured, well, I'm going to scare them off. Maybe if I tell them, well, make me an offer, whatever, like I bet you can't pay that. So he gives them an offer, and they say, all right, we'll pay it.
Done.
So he's going, well, okay, I guess I got to do it.
Well, I wrote myself to that one.
Like yeah, because I think that's the joke is that I think in there's this documentary on my Blu-ray set called Scream: The Untold Story, and there's a part where he mentions I think he said something to the quote of couple mil, 1,000, something like that. Like he thought like that he threw that number hoping it would scare them off, but they said, all right, we'll be willing to do it. So he's going like, okay, gotta commit. And the thing about Wes is he's the rest is still he's still like you see his movies and they have this intensity, this rawness, this almost fury at times. And then you see the guy in interviews and he's like the most gentle soul like you hear like he's very like he talks about his
The
cat.
dude was the dude was basically a bird watcher. That's what he did in his spare times, between shooting scenes of like freaking nightmare demons and killers in like cheap Halloween masks.
Oh, here's another reason why a lot of guys said no. I'm looking at this. According to this, they talked to like Danny Boyle, Tom McLaughlin, who we happened to meet today at a convention, by the way, Ian, and that was a highlight. Thank you for letting me in on that. Sam Raimi, Robert Rodriguez, and oh god, Tarantino. All those guys were offered, and a lot of them were thinking, "Are we making fun of horror movies?" Thinking they were going more airplane than satire, which is because Scream is weird because people describe it as both very smart but also very funny when you see it in hindsight. But at the time, I'm pretty sure horror directors were thinking, "Am I doing this as a straight slasher and it loses all character, or am I doing this as a spoof and I'm making fun of the very genre that I helped, popularize?" That's like probably where people have a issue because you're going like, it's a comedy, a black humor comedy, which most people can't quite grasp sometimes.
Yeah, it's especially gets you whenever you hear people were watching the latest Scream movies. So go like, "Oh, where's the humor? Why is it so funny?" It's like, yeah, it's funny, just exactly the way that the original Scream movies were. They're they're playing around with the expectations, the tropes and rules, yet having to face them because the killer is also genre savvy and is trying to mess with their expectations of those rules.
Yeah. So that's why, like it says, Williamson wasn't just pointing the finger at the horror film, but also, the thing is, you're laughing 1 second, like, oh, that's kind of funny, and then something will make you go, oh shit, and scream. And that's part of the fun of this roller coaster ride is that it's not like, say, Scary Movie, which is straight up a spoof. Yeah, I know, Scary Movie, Scream, Scary Movie, Scream. It's straight up a spoof where it's meant. I think when the horror directors were rejecting the script, they were thinking it was going to be like that, but it was both a love letter to horror films while also saying we love it, but you gotta admit there's some parts of it that are kind of dumb, like the going up the stairs and this and that. So you eventually.
Even without saying it, kind of points out like the way that these slasher characters are able to go from place to place. You'd think there'd probably be more than one guy. Well, it turns out, yeah, they definitely need to have more than one guy to do the Ghostface killer, just to make it effective and scary.
Well, yeah, like I said, it tries to bring it to a real reality sense. You're not going to see like the killer like get hit by like a big truck only to push it aside and be like, "Yo, I'm back, baby." So Wes knew that Tony wanted to go. I think he liked the cleverness and the smartness because I think Wes really played up the mystery aspect because they say, "Oh, well, these killings seem to be random," and I go, "No, wait, these killings seem to have a pattern following this and that." And then as more characters are introduced, there's more threads to this mystery being added. Like, I mean, the biggest one being who done it, and another thing saying if these guys are close knit of friends. What if the killer was one of these friends and who is it? And they throw a lot of things where you could really suspect anybody. Like as the character Randy says, there's a formula. Everybody here is a suspect, and that's part of the fun is the guessing game. I know some would say the minute you cast someone and you see some guy and say, "Yeah, I bet you it's this guy." When it happens, that's probably more on the subtleties and the casting director. And sometimes they'll throw in something where you go like, "Oh, I didn't know that was that person," but then you rewatch it and go, "Oh, there's subtle clues." This more so in the sequel than I think in the other ones. But I'm saying is that that's part of the fun is the okay, who's gonna make it and who's doing it? Those are like the two big questions that really make these movies work.
And I feel like it's kind of what draws more people in to watch these. It's kind of a harkens back to like the Basil Rathbone's Sherlock Holmes or the Hercule Poirot movies or shit. Nowadays, like we have Ryan Johnson's Knives Out movies where they have pretty much the who done it mystery going on. It's always the factor if like you're it's not the entity itself that's scary. It's more the fact that like who's playing outplaying who. It could literally be anyone you could trust. Nope, everybody's pretty much free game. Like
Mm-hmm.
you literally can't trust a single person. In fact, this idea permeates into the one of the most popular uh media games that is like hitting nowadays in this decade, especially with Among Us. Where it's basically you're playing with a bunch of friends and you're trying to figure out who the hell the killer is.
Mm-hmm. So, and because you have such a strong mystery and a strong thing, it doesn't really matter who's going to be cut up, right? Like he says, they're all going to end up slabs of meat by the end of the picture, right? Mm-hmm.
Well, there are actually a few. I'd argue a few horror franchises where they can actually have characters with depth. There are bunch that they are just kind of like, well, whatever. You're bond member of this. Your party do that. But Scream, they say, shut the fuck up.
Yeah. Scream does try to throw you probably like one word that was used to describe it too is hip, and this is definitely hip for the time of the '90s because like I think I jokingly told her rewatch is one of the geniuses is that the cast kind of feels like they'd be on a WB show like Dawson's Creek at that time. Like they have that same vibe of like there's theme mystery. There's someone seeing someone. You got your pretty boys. You got your jocks. You got your geeks and your freaks. All that stuff. So it really captured that vibe of the '90s. Like I remember growing up. I never watched it myself because it was never interested me. But there was stuff like Beverly Hills 90210 or Melrose Place or stuff like that, where you got like these, young hot stars put into some out there situations sometimes, and there's love, there's betrayal, there's trust, there's laughter, there's heartbreak. So Scream kind of took that because that's supposed to represent at the time, most of America at the time. So I'm sure any teen going into the horror films at that point would see themselves in this cast of eclectic characters. So you say, "Oh, well, I can't see that person being a killer. Like they look great," and like you would be so heartbroken if it turned out they did, or you get even just as heartbroken if they didn't make it. I guess they're not the killer, but oh man, that sucks that they died.
Exactly. And there's also a lot of these characters actually go through a bunch of character arcs, especially going through the franchise. One character in particular I'm excited to talk about next time. But yeah, most of them really had to deal with some like face value shit. Like we have a deputy who's kind of like really trying his hardest to just be taken seriously, even though he's a little bit kind of a goofball.
Mm-hmm.
Like not intentionally, it happens. The dude's just only just starting out in this force, but like of course his sister is just like uh constantly chastising him like at every turn, and he's like being swayed in by the media starlet who's unintentionally getting swayed in by his charms in return. And of course, we got like our leading lady, Sydney, who's having to face the fact that she might have actually pointed out like the wrong killer. And the real killer is coming back to make this big grand play, and also has to probably face the reality that her mother probably has some dark, dirty secrets that she'll have to reconcile with, especially in later movies.
Uh,
But yeah, even some characters don't need to have like certain big arcs, but they definitely have a lot of personality. They definitely show that they're gonna be the type of people that are gonna be living through this geeked out, whacked out scenario of like a horror movie coming to real life.
hmm So, like I said, let's go ahead and start with the poster girl for this franchise. Quite literally, we have our cast of victims slash suspects, starting with Drew Barrymore as Casey Becker, who,
So basically, if you have to ask who Drew Barrymore is, hi, what's your address, and does it start with 123 under a rock?
I mean, come on. I mean, for everybody in the '80s who grew up to be teens in the '90s, she was the little sister in E.T. and America's Darling and stuff. So she was like the if there. This is gonna sound like a weird thing, given that she's actually in this franchise, but you know how Jenna Ortega has kind of become like the it girl, where she goes, you see her from a young age in one role, and she's blossoming herself into someone of esteem and status. I think that's kind of what Drew Barrymore was for that era. And here's the thing: so she was on all the posters. She was like the first thing to come up in the cast, and she's the first character you see. So you're thinking she's gonna stick around for a while. This is gonna be quite an interesting play. You know, we get to see Drew Barrymore. She brings some prestige to this project that would usually have a bunch of nobodies.
So, have y'all ever seen Psycho before?
She was basically the Janet Leigh character. I believe that's the character that was a big star that was shockingly killed before the first act was even up. Well, she's our second opening kill for this whole franchise, and that was a decision that made everyone shocked. So apparently, Drew herself supposedly was brought in by a friend of the producers that wanted to like have her for the role of the main lead, Sydney, and she opted to pick the smaller role. Some people speculated maybe she wanted to get out of it because she didn't want to do the horror, but she was going well. She didn't want to disappoint the producers and such, so she agreed to take the smaller role. And I'm sure they're probably going like, "What are you nuts? You're gonna kill our starlet?" But I think Wes and
But yeah, it turns out this interview later, she made the exact call because you gotta give this actress credit. I tend to love actors that decide, you know what, I just want to kind of divert the norm. I want to kind of buck the trend that I'm known for. Like I'm at this point, I haven't seen this America's Darling. Well, what if I end up being killed?
yeah, and that
Like
gets
I want to really, really like play everyone's tensions. Like, oh no, please don't kill her. And I just like, well, sorry, but I say I'm uh going to act as scared and like distressed and going to be facing my absolute fucking dread.
huh. And like I said, yeah, that's the big thing. Like I said, I think the equivalent for that today would be like if you cast Scarlett Johansson as like the lead in an alien film, and she gets like the first one to get facehugger. That's like in the first 5 minutes. That'd be like that's the equivalent that my AVP mind can kind of grab on. That would make people go, and it's not a quick little she's gone. They prolong it to the point of almost uncomfortability, but not in tastelessness. It doesn't become a gore effects no porn thing. It makes it gives you all you need to the point. Like, I mean, one thing that gets me about her demise is that her last gasp are done through the phone before the Ghostface killer hangs it up, and you imagine it probably going way worse than what you're actually seeing because like says Wes wanted to at least dial back on the violence, but only show it where it was like really impactful. I mean, like for example, you got a guy get disemboweled in the very opening as to show you how these killer trivia players are not fooling around; they're actually out for blood.
and I feel like that's as visceral and gruesome as it gets. I'm trying to. There is the moment where the camera guy gets his
Throat slit.
neck slitted, and it's like uh blood seeping out, and then literally has his body dumped on top of a truck where blood is literally smearing on the window until the wipers like smear it off. Oh, and then of course you have the killers like uh spearing each other just so that they could look innocent to the end, so that they could play out their oh no, we were left for dead
So what's
kind of
cute
scenario.
So it's cute, like I said, Drew Barrymore starts out playful, and you're going along with it too. Like, oh, you got this mysterious, sexy voice on the other side asking, and you're trying to be polite about it. Then it starts growing intense, and once you get to that first level, you hang up on me again. I'll cut you like a fish, and that's when you realize. And I noticed that the camera work and the tension starts really rising with the music, and then you got stuff like the whole pop quiz thing in there. It just keeps ramping, and she's getting more and more disheveled and distressed, and you're really riding it with her. So I think, and it helps that she's an experienced actor, but so having her be the first one knocked off really did, like I said, that was considered the most shocking moment. And like, and they do it in a way where you,
It's it, it literally even becomes no psychotic because practically everybody wanted to do that kind of scene, like not kind of the parodies, but there was also like homages. Like I think Rugrats All Grown Up had a episode where Tommy was filming his little film series where he had little play out this scenario. And of course, there's like a Scooby Doo promo where it had Daphne, which is hilarious given that Sarah Michelle Gellar played her, and then she would be in the sequel. But she's basically getting phone called scared by Shaggy again. Even more hilarious because Matthew Lloyd and all that. But yeah, it's such an iconic moment that literally everybody knows it. Even if you hear like the phone call and like getting harassed and hunted with like a Jiffy Pop burning in the background, you're gonna think, oh yeah, just like that movie Scream.
like even Mad TV did a parody where they redid the thing with monkeys wearing like the wigs and stuff. I think it was Mad TV or SNL. One of those parody shows made a fun of it where they had voiceovers of the same scenario happening with orangutans vaguely dressed like like that. And hell, Drew Barrymore herself is in on the joke. Where I think even like some 20 some odd years later, she played a joke with a recreation of it.
Oh yeah, did she open one of her shows like that?
Yeah, but I think in this one, Casey just hangs up. But yeah, but like I says, and then of course even I think they made fun of it in Robot Chicken with the Ghostface got and the Big Brother gets his one
Oh
phone
yeah, where he
call.
gets the extra call. It's like, see, make you awkward. I saw a Charlie's Angel sequel.
That
It
was
was a
a
piece of
piece of
crap.
crap. Roger Jackson, great voice. So, but like I says though, having her get taken out, and like I says, she's actually you know almost adorable to the point where you really are sad to see her go. Especially once that first stab goes, and you're like, oh, and then they just keep getting stabbed more and more, and then her last grasp of strength, she manages to unmask the killer. We don't
Yeah,
know.
she gets choked out too,
Yeah, that's probably
which is
what
why
prevented.
she can't scream out.
Hmm. Oh yeah, like I said, it is not a like I said, she does not go quietly into that good night, but it is not a good end for her. And like I said, and just as iconic is the, you know, her disemboweled corpse hung by the tire swing is just the moment that will probably stick with people, and that is just the first few minutes.
It's funny. It's that it's basically. I think this is like the first 15 minutes of the movie, first 15 10. It literally itself feels like its own like separate short film.
Hmm. Yeah, and then so what?
I think
What?
it's such a well known scene that I think I don't remember if it's did what's the YouTube channel? I don't think it's Dead Meat, but it's one of these channels basically like tallies up all these screen kills to try to
I
figure out
think it
which
is dead
one.
meat. The kill counts that
Yeah,
they do. Yeah.
yeah, it's Dead Meat literally has his own dedicated video where he's basically like you could look it up and then you could actually watch simultaneously with the movie to see him map out where he believes that the two Ghostface killers were. going through it step by step.
Mhm.
And if you watch the movie, it actually does line up pretty much like with all the amount of evidence with like scripts and behind the scenes and commentaries. It all matches up pretty much perfectly.
Yeah, this is not a thing scenario where even the John Carpenter and Kurt Russell are going, okay, now I forgot who was who by this point. Even they had a hard time keeping up. Okay, but all right. So Drew Barrymore's out. So now we go to our real lead over here, Nev Campbell as Sidney Prescott, probably up there with one of the greats of Final Girls like Nancy Thompson, uh, um, uh, Laurie
Laurie
Strode.
Strode.
Thank you. Hell, I mean, even though she's a different genre, Ellen Ripley. Like these are like heroines where they get put through it, but they have enough in them where you're like going, come on, you can make it, you can get it to the other end, and you end up feeling relieved and overjoyed when she does happen to come out of a precarious situation. But it doesn't feel like she has plot armor. No, you really do feel the sense of like, if we lost Drew Barrymore, who's to say we don't lose this girl? And I believe Nev Campbell was just coming off of a '90s uh, a primetime show at the time where she was already known across America by that point. So I think Scream really
So
put her.
basically, I was about to say she is based almost sounds like a Heather Langenkamp. No, I remember Heather actually came did that show after her Nightmare stint, so it's kind of the opposite direction.
Yeah, I think it said
But
here,
but but needs to say it's looking back
Party of
rewatching
Five.
this
That
after
was
seeing
it. Sorry, it was Party of 5.
yeah looking back on this after seeing your franchise, it's just astounding how absolutely babyface she is. Like she has not gone through all the trials and tribulations. She has not been hardened. She's not been scarred up. She just looks like a typical like teenage girl.
Like I kept joking that she looks like she's ready at any point to pull out a buckler and yell out pterodactyl. She looks like she would fit in the cast of Power Rangers, which is not an insult to the cast of Power Rangers. They're great people, but I'm saying she wouldn't be out of place in that. She has that every teen vibe that would work. So, in fact, sometimes I would blink and say Amy Jo and her kind of resemble
Zach,
each other at this period.
Zach says I know her from Lion King too. Yeah, Kiara.
Kiara. God, I remember someone did do a joke image of like Kiara listening to a phone call where they still does the whole "Hello, City, remember me" caption, and she looks like this face. But yeah, the like I said, she really does capture that everyday girl with some hint of she's got innocence, but you can tell she's haunted, burdened, and as you find out throughout the movie, she is dealing with the trauma of having lost her mother, who was murdered, and she's just got her
One
done.
year prior to the events.
Hmm. And then she's got to deal with a boyfriend who's not pushy, but it feels like she's kind of holding out on him, and things are just going too fast too soon. And then you got these murders on top of it, and finding out that's possibly
The
from her own circle of friends. It's like, what's going
especially
on?
considering the fact that uh, the big factor of why Casey was picked to be a victim, she literally just sits across from Sydney. She's not Sydney's friend. She's not anything. She's just gonna be a empty seat that's just gonna keep Sydney going like, oh my god, that could have been me.
And then that's the scary thing. Then when she does get picked later, and the thing is that she is more savvy than Casey. Or even though Casey knew this stuff, she really did fall into the tropes. Whereas Sydney does try, like when like the killer's taunting, saying how I'm actually out in your porch, and she just has to say, oh, you know what? Fine, I'll go ahead and see if you're actually there. So she, rather than strike away or nothing, she decides to actually open up. So that shows you that she does have some spunk to her. And it's funny how when she gets told about her mother's death, rather than get traumatized and brought down, she actually just tells the killer to F off before it actually starts attacking her.
And she's pretty quick on her feet to figure out ways to get herself defended, like tripping the killer up and get pretty much barricading herself with her closet door is just hinged just enough that can like pretty much like block off her main room door.
Hmm. And like I said, well, one of the scenes that's just adorable.
Especially when when her phone line is busy, she immediately goes to use the internet connection to. That I don't know. It's just weird to say dial up if she's typing. I don't know. Just text message like old school to the police station.
Although I gotta say, fuck you, scary movie. I laugh every time she's at the computer because I think of the white girl in trouble message that was sent. Oh yes. So yeah, like I said though, but you really do root for her. She does have this innocent look, and it's a funny part when they're talking about how who would cast us in the movie about this, and her
I
Dewey,
see as a young Meg Ryan myself.
and she goes,
Thanks, but with my luck, they cast Tori Spelling.
hint hint.
One movie later.
But yeah, like I said, though, she does really got that, and you really are rooting for her. Like she does. I told you, she had the same energy as Jamie Lee as Laurie in Halloween, where she's the only one that's not going to parties or smoking dope or getting drunk, and she's the one that you see get like inches away from the killer's knife, but still just managed to make it by the skin of her teeth. And she does carry that
Oh
tradition
yeah,
on well.
she only goes to the party at the third act of the movie only because her friends are like, dude, come on. It's like, think of it. You're gonna be surrounded by friends. You're not gonna be alone. It's like, shit. You guys got a good point about that one.
Yeah. So, like I said, but she was definitely the right choice to be the heroine that we ended up rooting for. And even going back and watching it to this day, just seeing her origin point and knowing where she ends up, you're still going. And the thing is, she never goes through a drastic shift like, say, I love Sarah Connor, but you gotta admit, Sarah Connor 1 versus Sarah Connor 2 is a big jogging marathon run from that point to that point. Whereas Sid, even though she does evolve and gets more things, she never lost what made us fall in love with her way back.
Well, she does kind of get a little bit more suspicious and does try to keep herself isolated. Oh my god, yeah. Each movie she keeps herself more and more isolated. At least, and then after the third one, she's like, okay, you know what? I'm just gonna be out and about a little bit. Oh no, attack! Yep, I'm going back in isolation. Nope, fuck this.
So anyway, but we should probably talk about the other reoccurring fella that is, again, very charming and such a gift to this movie. And that would be David Arquette as
Deputy Dwight Riley, or his sister and the rest of the town seem to keep negative calling him Dewey.
or Doofy. I'm sorry, no. Again, we might have to talk about it the more we keep referencing it, but we'll see. Yeah, like I said though, what's funny is I always thought he was uh as his mustache got bigger in each movie, I thought he was the same. I thought he was Michael Gross from Tremors at times, but he's just like a younger version of him.
Oh, is that the one that's like broken in a raw goddamn rock roll?
Yes, that guy. That guy. Oh my God! If
I still need to actually sit down and watch Tremors one of these
oh yeah,
days.
I gotta say though, Michael Gross is like Dewey's like father or uncle in one of these movies would have been a crazy connection. I would have loved. But I mean, there's no reason why it needed to happen, but it just would have been cute. But anyway, like I said, though, David Arquette does play him as a guy who's in over his head. As he puts it, he's trying to be like the John Wayne, the sheriff of this town, but he's got a heart of gold. He's got little brother syndrome that even though he's a man of the law, he's still got a sister that still tells him like he's the little brother creep that she would like tap at the back of the head, and he could tell.
Even though he's technically like a few years older than her.
Yeah. What's funny though, you can.
So basically, it's oh my god, I can't believe I'm making this connection. It's the whole situation is basically like Ed getting berated from his little sister Sarah from Ed, Ed, and Eddie.
God, oh my God, Dewey is kind of an Ed, not in that level of stupidity, but he is in that good-hearted
Stubbornness.
the stubbornness and goofballness and everything. Because what's funny is I think the ads did try to play him as his cover as a inept officer is so effective that maybe he's actually doing this deliberately.
He would be able to get like evidence in and out easily, and he was holding the mask when Sydney opened the door.
And then even the ads had the whole him, you're not scared, are you? Talking to Gail with the light flashlight under his face to be kind of cute. But you can also see that in the context of like he's giving a hint to the audience, like, wait, what if it's that guy? Because who would suspect the cop of being a killer? I mean, nowadays that probably wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility. But back then, authority figures, like, can you imagine if Mr. Thompson actually turned out to be the Freddy Krueger figure in his thing? That would have been a big whoa. So I can see why.
That would be way more levels of fucking messed up with the whole "I'm your boyfriend now, Nancy."
Yeah, but
Ugh.
but I'm saying though is that yeah that you can see why they threw Dewey in as the. Of course, it can't be the cop, and then your mind starts going, but wait, what if it is the cop? What if he's just playing to be the dumb little brother when he's actually orchestrating this type of stuff? So that's why he's there. But at the
It
same time,
is kind of adorable where when he's standing next to Sheriff Burke, who's like so stressed out of the whole
he's
situation. He's
he's
smoking cigarette, and Dewey's just sitting there with the nice, like, it's great. He's doing it with the determination. It's like, yep, scoping out the place.
hey,
I'll just have some of my raspberry with it too.
I gotta say, it's not been unintentional, but maybe Aki and Angel having smoking and ice cream is probably a callback to this, given that the Fujimoto is probably a big, tropey horror movie guy, so maybe he probably did that as a Scream throwback.
Hmm.
I don't know. But, yeah, like I said, though, you're right. That's the thing is that, but that's what this movie does. It starts playing with you, where you start going, oh, it can't be that guy, and your paranoid part of your mind says, but what if it is? Like, there's so many red herrings in this thing, but not in a way that's annoying or feels lazy. It does make part of the psychological warfare is with your own mind saying, oh, and you would trust, like, okay, trust me, and there'd be something that'll happen where you say, okay, well, maybe that isn't the case. So, and then, plus,
Oh my god, and he almost originally dies in this movie. But Tessa is just like, no, 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 no. And they're like, okay, jeez, we'll cut out edit a scene where he's just getting carted off by meds or something.
Cause I think that when they say you can tell he was meant to be dead because when another character gets knocked into him when he's supposedly knocked out, he has no reactions. He was probably really conked out. But no, like this is
Well,
they.
I would be out of it too if someone like stabbed me like close to my tailbone. Like goodness knows, like I really had to like get an extra breath of wind on me after I had my fall out of the roller rink Friday, hitting on my knee and like spraining my ankle.
Ouch. Yeah,
Getting over it.
like he mentioned that he was supposed to, but they say part during the course of the movie realized the performance was just so witty, so we loved him. He played with such heart, and everyone kept thinking that yeah, so that's why he probably changed the idea. Like yeah, maybe we shouldn't kill him.
We call this move the Oscar Isaacs maneuver.
Although Dewey did it first, so maybe we should call it the Dewey Riley maneuver. Okay. I gotta be right back. I'll go ahead and put up the thing so I won't leave you waiting for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for your patience. We are right back, and again, we didn't meet an untimely demise, which we're going to get to when we talk about the quote unquote rules of these movies. Thank you for hanging tight. So, we just talked about our intrepid officer, Dewey Riley, who you just want to love because he's just such a good hearted goofball.
But he can't be serious till the job gets down, especially when he really goes gung ho into the third act house with his gun tracked. He's like checking every closet. Of course, he does get spooked to hear Jimmy Curtis screams on the TV, thinking it's someone actually in distress. But hey, can't be too careful now.
Mm-hmm. And like I said, I think the reason we love Dewey now so much is we know where he ends up and everything. Like, I
Yeah,
mean, it's just so much. The more he's become as endearing to us to say, I don't know, just he's just another one of the classics, all that kind of stuff. He's not like the. I mean, because he's closer in age to Sidney than say someone like Officer Thompson, who's like, way out there, or even Sheriff Lee Brackett. It's like those guys are the oldsters. They don't get it, but he's kind of part of the hip crowd, and he still kind of doesn't get it. But I still love that there's donuts all over the station whenever you see a scene of him at the station.
you've got a bunch of like toys and gimmicks put on this, but to be fair, I see it as like it gives him a little bit more personality.
So he's because it could have been easy to have him be the "there's nothing going on" or "I don't believe you" type thing. Like even he says this doesn't fit the profile. He says so. All
The
right,
dude's actually done his homework at the very least.
all right. So we got Dewey. So we probably go on to the other intrepid member, someone who, in all respects,
One of my favorites.
would be a normally would be the conceited and antagonistic. Uh,
She'd basically be the type of character that you just want so badly to see get her comeuppance.
but she's not so bad
But the way
actually.
this movie plays out, you really hope she doesn't.
Yeah, that would be Friends alumni Courtney Cox as intrepid reporter Gail Weathers, who, yeah, it's very funny how when you
I,
first,
I was gonna joke like she's big popular in that show. What was it? Amigo? I don't know. I don't think I ever caught on, but
oh yeah, she is, I think that part of the reason she did want to play this character Gail Weathers is that she's kind of a catty, bitchy character, which is so removed from her lovely persona that she had playing in Friends and such. Me, for her, I always remember her as the assistant to Ace in Ace Ventura, where you see her trying to not break character laughing when Jim Carrey is doing the slow motion replay stunt thing. Like you can see her kind of do
yeah,
this thing where you're going like she's being like the character is like in character's going like okay that's much, but you can tell in real life she's like don't bust the gut, don't ruin the take.
she's trying so hard not to like double over and laugh.
I I gotta give more props to that the dog lab coat character for not laughing at Jim Carrey hitting his head against his shoulder, doing the funny face and everything. I'm like, I would not be. I would be terrible for comedies because I would ruin every take by laughing.
I think what how comedies usually do is that they just tell a joke over and over so that they can just laugh and get it out of their system, and then they play it out.
That's why improv is so dangerous because when they improv a joke that's so funny. I mean, just look at Pete Holmes in the Bad Man College Humor franchise where you see the outtakes. Most of the time, it's screwed up by himself laughing at an unexpected joke, like when or Patton Oswalt laughing so hard at him trying to come up with a nickname like I'm a Hampton huge badge at the giant split pig next to Patton Oswalt, which makes Patton break over laughing. But yeah, so anyway, see, like it says, Courtney Cox plays Gail Weathers, who's known for writing tabloid reporting and maybe a couple. She's kind of like TMZ, but more in the vein of
She actually has a soul.
there was a I think Ricky
I
Lake.
think I would just say she's Lois Lane, but just minus all the bullshit.
Yeah, like I said, but I'm trying to go with like who was like there was a lot of people with their own talk shows at the time that they got like talking about like hard topic news. Of course, basically like you know how you got your Dr. Phil's today or your or your other like Oprah, like those kind of people that they had their own show and talk about what's the topic on the pulse of America right now. That's kind of what she had going on with her hard news segments, which remind me of like First Edition or all those other stuff. And the thing is that she kind of gets under our protagonist Sydney's
Yeah,
skin.
Ian pretty much agrees with you. It's Tennessee in the vein of Lois Lane.
Mm-hmm. And then oh, but yeah, so like they said, the like it says, Gail does play the friendly face persona of, and then what's funny is when the cameras drop, like for example, when they miss the shot, she has to tell her poor cameraman Kenny, like when I say move, that means move your double lard ass in gear.
Come on, ass now!
It's like okay, so and it's so funny to see someone like Monica just go into like outbursts like that, and that's probably why she. I mean, I think she probably liked the fact that uh, she gets a good back and forth with Sid. Like for example, like when she does the whole book about what happened, I'll send you a copy. She just gets a good hook from Sid right there. But I don't know if they actually did.
I have to wonder behind the scenes if like maybe like they have like practice throw, but she timed it bad and actually hit Courtney, and she's like, "Oh my god, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry." I've, I've been through New York. I know how this goes.
Oh yeah, they even mentioned it was professional. That they did the. Uh, they said yeah, it's kind of like what happened in Alien, where yeah, she was scripted to get hit and punched, and they just happened to really throw into it. What's funny about the deleted scene of Veronica Cartwright slapping Sigourney, she went trying to dodge the first, and she ended up going into the backhand so hard that she almost made Sigourney break the take by crying.
Oh.
but thankfully, uh, like it's Courtney and Nev. I think he probably rehearsed it enough to say, okay, we're gonna make it look, and it does look amazing because everyone that is like if, I'm sure with an audience first time watching it, seeing that punch land on Gale probably gave the first being
Oh,
like, oh,
and they have. I love that they kept the continuity. It's like, oh yeah, she's still got the shiner on her, and she's like trying to douse it in makeup.
and on top of that, when she sees Sid again, right away she's like, no, I'm looking for a fight right now. Like right away she goes like, don't you dare like do it, throw me another one. What's funny too is that she's able to not only sniff out that something's up when Sydney realizes that she thinks, oh, this killer might be the same guy. He's like, come on, you already put away the first guy. He's gonna get the death penalty. What do you want? And she realizes, oh crap,
Wait a second.
you think that the killer for that's still out there. And then what's funny is that she's thinking on the one hand, telling her cameraman, oh my gosh, we have the potential to exonerate a man who's on death row for being fingered by the wrong crime. If I save a life, what's that gonna do for my numbers? But you can't blame her for chasing her hustle. But it's so funny. At first, you're thinking like, I could actually save a man's life, and you're thinking like, oh wow, she might hack the heart of gold. She goes, you know what?
You know the
Like, oh,
I mean, yeah, the way she words it, you think that's her number one priority, but obviously the way her intent is like she obviously going to need to get the person exonerated and saved before she even thinks about getting that happening.
but you gotta admit, it is great that there's that duplicity in nature where you go in like, okay, and she does really play well with.
Dewey?
Yeah, sorry, I had something. Yeah,
At first you think like she's like winning him over just to get like it close feed, like getting like tactics from like how police are handling all of this. And then at some point she actually kind of gets enamored by his like authentic charm. But she kind of wait, I'm confused. Am I like trying to get a relationship to get something out of him, or is a legit relationship I'm getting into?
and like I said, so I like that funny bit when she mentions that I'm very popular amongst the was it 25 to 30 crowd? The 14 to 21 crowd, 5 crowd was like her most popular demographic, and I think Dewey makes a joke about he's in the upper level of that. But oh yeah, she does get put through it too, like when like it says when she does her reporting skills to like that her reporting skills to go and infiltrate the party, to actually stick in a delayed camera to be able to like get in on the action of what's going on, which is
She
used
is
late.
actually,
It's used later
she is
for.
actually.
Oh, go on.
Sorry, I was gonna say she is actually pretty clever. Unlike most reporters, like she thinks like there's a whole group that's just waiting out in the front to get an interview with Cindy. But she's like, no, 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 this can't be the only door to get in and out of this building. There has to be another one. So of course she's the first one to go to like around the back to check,
And catches
and of
Sid.
course her hunch is literally right. Then later there's another point where she's a little bit clever that she manages to sneak in. She literally takes off her high heels. I swear to God, I only just found this when I was rewatching the movie before we did all this like live podcasting. And only now did I just fucking notice that she literally took her high heels off so that she's barefoot in stockings so that she could tiptoe into the house to grab the gun while the two killers were completely distracted doing their thing.
And that's a little, like I said, they think the logic to this through, so it makes sense instead of like a how did they get there type moment.
I did laugh that she was like doing a good jogging in heels, catching up with Dewey, uh, looking for the car. So, unfortunately, Bryce Dallas, you were not the first to do the running the high heels thing.
Who coincidentally, not to brag, I did get to talk to her today at a convention where she was at. Such a
You little bastard!
such a sweet, just God. Like I thought I liked her in Jurassic and everything else before, but in person, she's just seeing her just talk to other people, the interactors. I'm like, oh my gosh, that sweetness just carries over. Like that. That's why it's so funny that she played such a out there character with the Help, where she played a villainous character. So yeah.
Man, I got actually a legit con now. I feel like I've like stepped out enough of it.
But yeah, like I said though, like I said, Gail goes from a character like, man, what if she gets it, to like, oh wow, I actually like her when she comes in to say, here's my idea of events. I come in, save the story, catch the guys who thought that the seemingly dead reporter, like that whole deal.
Yeah, hell
It's
yeah, girl. Oh wait, no, no, safety, safety! Ah,
oh god, yeah. Even you pointed out like, I'm sure every gun person in the audience is like, she didn't have it right. But
no!
yeah,
Thankfully though, she fixed her mistake the second time she gets the gun.
yeah, she even makes a like quippy one liner for that.
Didn't forget the safety that time, asshole.
Yeah. So and then okay, speaking of people
Oh,
with spunk.
I'm just so glad. I'm just gonna be so happy to talk about her ongoing character arc she's gonna go have throughout the entire franchise. I
She's
feel like,
she's the most
as you said,
unlikely character.
Sydney doesn't have as much of a character development, but Gail, oh, Gail is the one that I feel gets like a lot of attention for a character arc going.
Yeah. Okay, and just there to support Sid and all his endeavors, and also plays off really well up against the Gale snipes is Dewey's sister Tatum Riley is played by Rose McGowan, and oh my gosh, like I said, she does bring an energy that is oh yeah, she's a pillar. She's gonna make it. She's actually much more got more fight in her, much more sassy. So of course that's why it's a surprise when she's actually one of the few people not walking away from this movie. Also, we got to thank her for giving us the name of our iconic killer, because it was a sarcastic line, but it works when she goes, "Are we doing the victim part? No, okay, let me see. Oh, please, Mr. Ghostface, don't kill me. I want to be in the sequel," she says sarcastically, but I think it's because of
Which
that line.
unfortunately leads me to the one question: how'd you know about the parts you went there for?
How everyone knew the name was Ghostface?
Well, how the hell would freaking Gail know that she wasn't there? And I definitely don't think either the killers told her what happened that time.
She probably took artistic license by saying, okay, there's a body pin in the garage door. Maybe she tried to get out and did make up her own events, but it'd be funny if the stab movies accurately, portrayed that. And you're right. No one else was there to see Tatum's, demise. So you're you're right. That is a
Well, again, as I point out, Nova was there to hear her give the name to these. Where like the point where characters that like are aware of the franchise within the franchise call it Ghostface.
Because they even say, "Oh, they're doing the ghost face." Well, I guess anyone would call it the ghost face because it's a face, ghostly. So I guess other people are saying, "We'll call it ghost face," but for us in the universe, out metaverse, seeing her talk and say "Mr. Ghostface," that's that it just stuck. People just from then on, the mask logo was, they say, new Scream mask, Ghostface mask. Like, oh, okay. Even though in universe the killer's mask is referred to as Father Death, I believe.
Yeah.
But like I said, so Tatum, like I said, she does play the resourceful, spunky, sharp friend where you're going like, okay, she's got like she's even telling Sid like, you're sounding a little crazy right now, but also she's not afraid to like take snipes when she says when like you can do better than Billy Loomis. He does Billy and his penis did not deserve you, stuff like that, which probably put her on the target list for saying jokes like that. Oh, she.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like she kind of dips it a little bit too much as a bitchy attitude. Like, Gail herself was bitchy too, but at least she understood to get her guard down a little bit. But I don't know what the fuck Tay was going on to keep putting Dewey down.
Yeah. Oh, but then she shall. I think she even punched her boyfriend Stu for a stupidity leak when he said something without tact, where you're going, yeah, okay, thinking that was tactless for him to say at that time.
I don't know. I might have a little bit of a bias against Rose McGowan considering her beliefs.
Oh no, like I said though, that's removed from this. But like I said though, she I did find her very endearing, and when she did go, I was like, oh no. But I do find it sweet that she was enough of a friend and sister to Sid that she did name her daughter Tatum, according to the recent trailer, where she's telling her Tatum, aim up high. It's like, oh, she's named after her friend. But like I said, but she does get a memorable exit scene where again, uh, stupid scary movie for making this hilarious as hell. But coincidentally, interestingly enough, even though the character's depicted as having a hard time fitting through the doggy door and getting out, I think Rose found out she could actually squeeze through that thing no problem. So she had to like really pretend like, oh no, I'm stuck when she was getting lifted up in the garage door, which I think most garage doors are now built with safeties where that kind of thing probably wouldn't happen. They know that, oh, we're exceeding weight capacity, slow down or whatever. But at that point, no, it was still made for like she. This actually got the movie X rating where you see a few more extra. It's always a few frames, 2 or 3 seconds of frames that wouldn't matter, but the MPA was like, you got to get that out to get your R rating. Where if you watch the normal cut as released, when she gets close to to the uh, the edge of the garage door that's coming her way as she's ascending, she kind of like gets squished a bit. And I think in the unrated cut that made it on its way on VHS tape, you see just a few more frames of her actually, like, you can tell, like, oh yeah, she's actually getting put through it before the sparks flare. Although I swear I don't know why my mind remembers a version for TV that is probably just really misremembering it, where she's getting up to the garage door, she's cleaning out, and you cut to a reaction shot of Ghostface doing this, like, like, oh, like that, and I swear, and then he's like just staring at his handiwork. Like I swear I saw that, even though I'm probably misremembering that or confusing that with the parodies of it.
Hmm.
I don't know, because but like I said though, it
Sorry,
is.
I was just trying to look up her backstory. It's just the one thing I just take away from it is that Rose just doesn't know what the think before she talks.
Oh come on, like I said,
That's basically her problem. She got some good intentions, but she really needs to plan out what she says
yeah.
beforehand.
Well, like I says, that's why we have a publicist when it comes to the type of stuff. Otherwise, you start making fun of pronouns and bios as beep and boop when you're on a big multi-million-dollar Galaxy franchise, and then they decide one day to say, okay, you're slow down, and then you start saying other stuff and boop. But enough about Cara Dune. But like I said, the character itself, like I said, it does really work in the support group. But I don't ever think you're ever put her in the question of could the killer be her? Because I don't know. There'd be no reason to. But like I said, she's definitely not. Like the sequel says, if she's not a suspect, then she's a target. And boy, did
She
they.
does. She is a little bit savvy, given with Basic Instinct.
Oh yeah. But it is so funny how she's the one that tells Sig,
She did. She did kind of point out a question of like, why didn't they ask me if I did it?
Oh yeah, a good way to throw you off. But yeah, she is definitely not on the suspect list. But like it says, if she's not a suspect, then she's a target, and she did, like it says, the target here. But she does put fight into it. Like one thing that is amusing is that you know how the parodies always have Ghostface get a ridiculous amount of crap thrown at him. Well, in this one, like he takes a few beer bottles thrown in her exit scene. And
Which makes me question how the well, hell of it. It's 30 years. You know who it is. It makes me wonder how Billy was able to at least get his dong working to get down to Sydney after gutting her friend
I'm surprised
beforehand.
they didn't ask Billy, "Oh, have you been drinking beforehand? And why he smells of beer after getting pelted with it?"
Oh, they are at a party, so
Yeah, but yeah, but anyways,
no, I don't know. Maybe he might have had a drink before he like entered through the door.
yeah,
I mean, there were people like out hanging outside.
but we got, of course, the other, like, someone, the most savviest of savvy, where you go, you know, he's kind of a little too into this that maybe it could be him. We got Jamie Kennedy as Randy Meeks.
Well, hold off on his. It. If I thought like Rose McGowan had problems, boy, this guy's like itinerary has got me going. Like, how the heck are you even getting work, dude?
Oh, I know he does run a podcast now. He's talking about how he got into stuff. So he did a recent thing about how he got cast for Scream. Like anything else, he auditioned, and maybe he thought he was going a little too out there. But I guess he gave enough of the manic energy that they needed for this character. Where if you would probably think, wait, because even a character points in universe that maybe your reality button got you watched so much of the sick stuff that your reality button got turned off and you snapped. And even he admits, right, in a horror movie,
Yeah,
I would probably be one of the first suspects. He thought so. He admits it. I mean, it doesn't
to be
help.
fair, there are certain horror movies where the premise is like someone who's like had to like. Shit, I forget what the name of that one is, but it's when Search Darkness Part 3 talked about it. It's basically I forget the title of it, but basically it's the premise of like it's a sleazy assy like movie production that mostly involves like different slashers, and this guy is literally has to be the editor, and he has to watch all these different like forms of rape, torment, uh, gore, fantasy, porno nonsense day in and day out to the point where you think dude has to do that for a living. You think like seeing all of this would start to affect him deeply.
But yeah,
I wish I don't remember what the name of that was, but it basically it's the same thing. He works at a video rental store, even though he's been fired twice, as he boldly claims.
didn't even ask him. Like, you been fired already? He's like twice or whatever. Yeah. But like I said, what's funny is that he is definitely the geeky type, and I love how they're talking about how he's saying, you know, they'd save a lot more time if they watched this horror movie or that horror, because he's very savvy with the formula, and he is the guy who gives us the iconic rules of a horror film. He says there are several rules you must follow if you want to plan to survive one of these horror films, as he puts it.
You can never have sex. You can never have drink or drugs. And you should never, ever, on any circumstance, say, "I'll ref that. Usual will be back."
Yeah, and yeah, he is just like I says, he is just great, and everyone makes fun of him. But one of my favorite bits, I don't know why, I just laugh at is he's almost passed out drunk watching Halloween. He's saying, "Jamie, look behind you, look behind you." Not aware that right behind him is a guy with a knife getting ready to gut him.
And it made it first, like, the actor that's playing Randy is also named Jamie. So it's, huh, two actors named Jamie in horror movies. That's weird. I had nickel for every time there's an actor named Jamie in a horror slasher movie. I had two nickels. Which is not. It's rare that it happened twice.
But oh my god,
Especially when one of the times is actually playing as the dude is seeing it himself.
one okay side tangent. One thing I laugh at is that Halloween's soundtrack is so iconic that it ends up being used as soundtrack for other movies for people in universe watching Halloween.
But to be fair, that I said earlier, like Kevin Richardson literally wrote this script with the Halloween soundtrack playing in the background. So of course he's thinking. Like, I would bet you dollars that uh, cringe music was playing, like he was thinking like, oh, this would be a good moment where this like music springs up and the killer is just like appearing around the corner.
Like for example, like when they get the phone call that the principal's been gutted, the scene where one of the Jamie Lee Curtis songs is playing that boom boom boom, and it's actually syncing well with the bit, and it also plays again too when Dewey is like looking for any survivors in the house, and you got the Halloween soundtrack playing very loudly,
It
and
made
then
me think. I you know what? It's funny. Like we'd always say like, uh, Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street are kind of almost the weird brother and sister pair of horror movies. I feel like in a way Halloween finally got its mirror match with the Scream, but it just took like decades to reach that.
mm-hmm. But yeah, like I said, but Randy, like I said, here's the funny thing is that any way this could have been done wrong, this character would have been the most annoying. Okay, this guy has to get the knife type guy, but he with without putting it too blunt, too neatly, he is Randy is us. He is us, the horror fan. Like that's how we would talk and sound in this situation, especially when he starts losing his shit, yelling how everybody here's a suspect. There's a real simple formula to follow.
He almost feels. Uh, he unintentionally spoils the movie without realizing by saying like, "Look, the dead's a red herring. It's totally Billy." And of course, Billy turns, grabs him. And almost, I always hated this with the line from Hopper from A Bug's Life. It's like, I hate it when someone gives away the ending.
But yeah, and like I said, and he's the one that gets.
Which then leads up to the moment where Billy reveals himself as the killer, and she's like, "Oh fuck!" Was like, "Oh shit! I actually called it."
Yeah, yeah. It's less. Oh shit, he's got a gun. And like okay, it's two oh shit. It's like, oh shit, I was right, and oh shit, he's aiming for me. And you gotta admit,
Oh,
like,
speaking of Randy, it's something I also noticed. Like, I feel like Sydney set herself up to fail. She completely forgot. Like, okay, so there's a moment where she gets the gun because, like, she's been like nearly attacked too many times during the third act. She gets Dewey's gun after he's fallen, and of course, Randy's screaming at her. Stu's screaming at her, like, "Give me the gun! Give me the gun!" Never once did Sydney remember. Oh yeah, wasn't the Ghostface killer right behind Randy? So it couldn't have been him.
you're right. I guess in the heat of the
She
moment, that.
forgot that. She was in a panic. She's like, I can't tell. Up and down. Who's left, right? What?
Yep. But you're right. She shouldn't have realized that.
If she had actually listened to Randy at that moment, remember, like, oh yeah, Randy almost got gutted, like, in that camera in the van. She would have, like, blasted, like, fucking. She right there. They both like, what the hell happened? Like, oh shit!
You're right. I didn't think about that, but we were in the
Whoops.
moment with her too.
It's
Anyway,
I literally only just realized that thinking it didn't cross my mind until tonight before we started recording this.
anyway, so since we mentioned him already, and yeah, let's go ahead and talk about the man himself, the man of the hour, the killer, or in this case, the killers. First off, with the one people remember, Skeet Ulrich as Billy Loomis, which yes, that is a play on Nancy Loomis, who played uh, uh, also Dr. Loomis. No, Dr. Loomis's name, who's also gotten name from Nancy Loomis, and you know. Okay, point is, his name alone is a horror reference right there. And when you first meet him, he talks about how they were showing Exorcist on TV. Hell, when you first meet him, he's doing the whole what Johnny Depp did in Nightmare on Elm Street, the whole Glenn maneuver of a boyfriend in the window thing.
Ian says, but Billy got attacked too. Yes, he did, but that just only leads to like it's a matter of like shit. I can't think of what the phrase is. It's like weeding out the narrowing down the suspects. It's narrowing down the
Are you
suspects.
talking about Occam's razor, the most simple result thing?
It whatever. It's basically like narrowing down.
Oh yeah, but yeah, like you said, Yeah, he like I said,
It's
he.
like it couldn't be Billy. The mindset is like it couldn't be Billy because he was attacked.
Or we also
There's a figure there's chasing him, and then that chase figure appears again behind Randy during the camera. So obviously the logic should go now is that well it has to be Stu. So I guess like in this moment where he's asking me to get the gun, I should literally shoot him.
on top of that, Billy is also a process of elimination. That's what you were going for. Yeah, but another thing too is Billy. The fact that we think, oh, maybe it could have been him because we saw the cell phone, but then we have the bit with where
Looks like you fingered the wrong guy again.
where he gets the phone call after he's been put to prison, and he keeps insisting, Sydney, Sydney, it wasn't me, and then later, he gets a phone call from another Ghostface killer while Billy's in prison. Even he says, I couldn't have called you. Remember? And he shows off his ink hands. So he really does try to lay on evidence to say how he is, innocent. On top of that, he look at him, dreamy locks, hurt puppy soul upbringing, where you're going like, oh, like you don't want to suspect like he could be the killer because
I, I'm pretty. I'm pretty sure I do see a little bit of a definition of abs behind that white shirt of his.
yeah, there's many reasons where you're gonna say
That that I why would it be looking at that nowadays? I don't know.
but yeah, but you're looking at that going you see how yeah, there's some things he says that makes you go when he's talking about like how Exorcist was on, all the good parts were cut out, or he says how we're living in a sort of we were pushing toward an NC-17, but we're still stuck here in PG land. I'm laughing like I'm. I know fear is their greatest defense. I'm sure the defenses there are no stronger than they are not rely on solace, and the ones that are scale toward a large scale
Will
assault.
you stop repeating the dog thing line? Like, you're crazy every time you say that.
Yeah, like no wonder poor Mark's all like George, who talks like this? Just please remove the line and yeah, but the point is that's when Billy talks like that. I'm like, okay, you can see why. Even when he points out the whole thing about motives and all that stuff, and then he leaves. Even Randy's all looking at Stu saying, "Now tell me, doesn't that not sound like a psycho killer?"
It even makes me a point. Has he ever played a character that wasn't evil aside from like being
Henry,
Henry from FNAF 2?
huh?
What is his filmography?
Well, he's done like a lot of like non-horror stuff too, where he was like, all right, but
Well, obviously, I would assume he's not in a lot of horror. I'm just curious.
oh my
Let's
gosh,
see
even
here.
back in Teenage Mutant Ninja
He was.
Turtles, he was a thug.
I think I know what they're. He's like the should be like the lead thug. Say, what are we doing standing out here for? Let's get him.
On top of that, freaking Sam Rockwell was that other, foot guy who explains where the bodies were buried. Escape room, most of them found. Oh wow. Oh wow. Okay, maybe in okay, he was even in CSI. I'm pretty sure he was. Oh, he had a recurring role in that one. So okay. Oh, you're right. So I don't know. I guess he's the automatic. You know, I can see why they picked him though. He kind of had that whole Johnny Depp as Glenn vibe.
Hmm. But yeah, he definitely like the characters. Like it seems like he's like yeah, like CD closets behind him, but as the movie progresses, he kind of gives off this air of like, look, I'm just kind of putting this revival act because I have been pent up on like not being in a sexy relationship with my girlfriend, but I'm still gung ho to keep like uh going for her, despite that she fingered me to the cops.
Yeah, and on top
Thinking,
of
oh, this guy's actually willing to give her a chance.
and he really did play up the
And then you
whole.
realize, oh, the dude just fucking cheekily playing the whole thing on us.
You gotta admit, he did play up the whole getting stabbed by the Ghostface killer. Really, like man, he really is going for that death. Yeah.
Which, as I noted, that if he really wanted to play, he kind of purposely played his slight hand there, considering that he made it be corn syrup. As it pointed out, the school taught me if you want blood to look good, especially on white clothing, you gotta add a little green to the mix.
Yeah. Otherwise, it comes out looking like that bright pink color.
It looks like he got splattered with like red paint,
Mm-hmm. But yeah, and like I said, the
or he,
so
or he has a fucking ketchup like malfunction.
you gotta admit though, it is cool when the turn does happen where seemingly Billy was stabbed enough to be okay and stumbled down the stairs, and once he gets the gun and then
I did read the subtitles. It's like yeah, bleeding like a stuck pig.
mm-hmm. And then
Again, also giving his hand. It's like why would you talk about why did you bring up a stuck pig for bleeding? It's like
the
pig's
pig's
blood,
blood, yeah.
like Carrie.
The thing is, he does bring up a lot of like refs out of nowhere, and then that leads to the whole supposedly. And you gotta admit though, his timing is really stupid at times. Like when he was telling Sid the whole, "Listen, I know what it's like. My mom left me." I'm like, tact. Or even he hits himself going, stupid after the whole, thing. Like I'm so sorry, my life's become an inconvenience to your so-called perfect world. That whole deal.
Yeah,
But his "just get over it" line's pretty funny. Get over it. I'm like, oh, like that's rich coming from you of all people.
no, you guys probably won't be able to see it, but hey Jonesy, the Jackie Hero kind of look like a Sydney's final act look,
It does. Very cute. I just realized that your hair is getting a little bit of a Nev in the '90s look too. But
and just missing the bangs.
yeah, but oh my gosh, like I said though, but I love that moment of turning though when he does. We all go mad sometimes and quotes Tony Perkins, and you're going as normal.
Oh shit!
Yeah, like I said, it's just then you go like, yes. On one hand, it's like,
Then he's like scratching his head like a shit. I forget which character it is, but it's from Texas Chainsaw 2.
uh, you're thinking of. I know it's the guy that Mike Matei was parodying.
Yeah, he's
Chop some.
shit. Oh my god, I'm supposed to be a horror princess. I should know this shit, but just scratched my head.
There was yeah, Lefty, Stretch, Chop Top, Bill Mosley's character.
Yeah, yeah, it scratched his head with like obviously a pretty hot gunfire. Word of warning: if you ever fire guns, definitely do not touch it in your muzzle. It will burn you.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, it was just purposely like scalding his head, just like Chop Top did with the
Hanger and all that stuff.
yeah.
But yeah, you gotta admit though, that's part of the fun of Billy Loomis is that whole. I mean, plus his name alone sounds really cool as a horror fan, and then when you find out his whole motivations, it does make no sense, but it makes like he tries to point out. No one really asked why Hannibal liked to eat people or why this person or that person did stuff.
Did he ever? Did he ever? Did Nora Base Hamamoto? Did he ever explain why Hannibal Lecter liked to eat people?
Well, give him
The funny
time.
thing is, he said that, but then there's like media that comes after the movie where it literally tells that there's the Bates Motel show that
Hannibal
there's
Rising.
more Hannibal Rising that happened. It's like, well, that one aged like fine wine. And of course, he gives the actual explanation that he's doing this because, well, it turns out that Sydney's mother was a little bit of a, how should I put this, hussy. Always like having flings with men side to side because Sydney's dad was always going off on business trips, and well, there's revelations later down the line of where that notion came from, but goodness knows I'm not going to be ready to tackle that, especially considering real world ties to that. But needless to say, she got into business with Billy's dad, and the mother found out and literally left the two of them on their own. And that kind of like and maternal, as Billy puts it, maternal abandonment causes like serious abandonment issues, something that you would know for certain after losing your mother. So yes, it's basically like a revenge plan. It's like your mother drew my mother out the house, so I decided the only way back is to kill your mother. And then, of course, you had to be a little bit of uh, yeah, you had to deny me like having my sexual attention.
Yeah,
Pretty much the whole year, I decided, you know what? Fuck it. Let's just do this as a rerun.
but yeah, but surely he couldn't be doing all these alone, teleporting out of nowhere and taking guys left and right. So that comes to his other partner in crime, the ever so
Uh,
affable, lovable, fuck you, Quentin Tarantino, Matthew Lillard as Stu Macher.
and which for the longest time I thought was Machner. It was spelled Machner, but it turns out the subtitles it's Marker. Stuart Marker.
And oh my god, the energy he brings, especially when the reveal happens, it's infectious, actually.
I, I just gotta tell people like they don't know what they're talking about when they like criticize how Matthew Lillard acts. Because the dude is basically like putting his like 110% all, knowing that he's gonna have like his performances are gonna be remembered
But
because they pretty much stand out as like zany, static, and just like pretty much like spit in the face of like, you know what, screw the serious one. I'm just gonna like be myself and be unabashed about it.
like for example, when they're discussing the whole finding out the bodies were cut from sternum to and split open, all that kind of stuff, is probably he's saying stuff like, it takes a man to do something like that, right? And even Randy throws that back in his face, like, well, it could have been you. And I like how he throws out, I didn't kill nobody, and Billy's like knocking him, saying, hey, nobody even said you did.
That's funny given the fact that he turns out he played a Dungeons and Dragons tournament as well. Talk about Matthew Lillard, obviously, and managed to actually play with the Critical Role of all places.
Mm-hmm. But oh yeah, he like it says he's such a. I'll be honest, he was the surprise guy I didn't suspect of possibly being one of the guys. That's why when he shows up with when City runs into Stu for safety and he pulls out his own voice changer, you're going like, oh no.
Surprise, Indy.
I do love Billy's little. What's the matter? You look like you're seeing a ghost. But
It turns out Stu is the one that literally gives the name of the movie. They say, "You're gonna love this story. It's a scream, baby."
because as we know, the movie was called Scary Movie when it was first being run around, and I forgot.
Which that understandably, it's like okay, that's basically like the premise of it, but it's not. It doesn't have that zing. It's not catchy. It sounds generic.
Would make for a killer parody franchise.
Hopefully, 6 actually manages to do what 5 couldn't. God, 5 was a piece of shit.
Alright. Well, you gotta admit though, 3, even though it was off the wall, 3 was just as funny.
2 is to goated.
Oh yeah, and the first one, of course, well, the first one's the first one. It's amazing.
But yeah, Matthew is just like having an absolute ball, and he's just God. Like he was pretty much like the master of ceremonies for his like own like self-imposed party for the curfew. And it stretched out this like silky robe and everything. It's like the king of the castle, and he's just like throwing peace signs at Randy, and just like
Uh,
man, dude is like a vibe. That's how I feel. The dude is a complete vibe.
on top of that, it's very funny how he almost plays it as over the top as like Jim Carrey doing Edward Nygma at times, like especially once the reveal has happened, and he's like over there leaning in on Billy like if they're a two-headed gargoyle or something, and he just contorts his face into all these like. I don't think he would have been a conventional choice, but can you imagine him pulling off like a Joker-esque character? Oh shit, he would have been a really good Goblin, like a Harry Osborn Goblin, if they did a Spider-Man in the '90s.
Ah, I why'd you put that thought in my head? I can't unsee it. I want it.
But you gotta admit though, he did. It's funny though is that this same guy playing this big jockish oaf who turns out to be the surprise killer went on to be a beloved guy who spends his time screaming rather than causing screams, as Shaggy Rogers in the live action Scooby Doo series, and then doing the voice for the cartoons. And of course, you go back to terrorizing people again as the purple guy.
Yeah, it's I always come back.
It went from "I'll be right back" to "I'll always come back." But what's funny is he does kind of play along with the game. Like he does a whole part with the "Hey, you want another beer or something?" He's like, "Yeah, sure."
I'll
But
be right back.
oh, they say you play with fate, you end up dead in the third act. Well, he wasn't wrong.
But Randy, you see, you can't be killed unless if you're the killer.
Yeah.
It's like it's big brain time.
But oh man, like I said, one yeah, oh god, but some of the one of the best lines in the whole movie happened completely by accident because of Lillard's on the spot reaction time. So there's a part when the killers are bickering with each other, and then they
Yes,
lost
you're getting to that part.
they lost it, and this never fails to make us laugh every damn time. Where first the phone is going, he's all, Houston, we got a problem. Like how he was like, man, I think you cut me too deep. I'm getting woozy. And as Sydney calls them on the phone, Billy gets so frustrated that the fake blood causes
Don't
the.
be a bitch.
What's
You're
fun,
gonna have to find me first, pansy.
and what's funny is that the fake blood made the coagulated so much that it made the phone slippery, and it slammed right into Matthew back of his head. And without missing a beat, he goes, "You hit me in the head with the phone, you dick." And oh god, I just lost it when he says that. Something about it, but yeah, that actually happened completely by accident, and I like how he still kept it going.
Oh, and then he falls in with. Did you really call the police? Oh my god, you should say.
You gotta admit though, Stu is also must be quite loaded because of the whole the Stu family mansion has this like look to it, and he's running around with a Hugh Hefner robe. He's well off.
Oh, the way the architecture of the house apparently has multiple ways to get around the stairs. It's like, what did your parents do on a daily basis, Stu?
On top of that, though, it does provide for the killer easy ways of access of like getting in and out of areas. So that's why it was a really good. I mean, the Mocker
It's home
household.
turf advantage.
The Mocker household has become an iconic staple of the Scream franchise.
I swear we're gonna burn it to shit in part 7.
Yeah, but you gotta admit though, like it says, it is almost like 1428 Elm in terms of how iconic. When you see it from a distance, you go, "Oh, I know what the
Or the
reference is."
Myers house.
Mm-hmm.
At least I would say that if the damn place had a consistent design.
Mm-hmm. And sure enough, yeah. So you got our two physical bodies for the killers, but we have the one mystique that threw people off about who could it be because of the voice changer, the voice as played by Roger L. Jackson, who that is the reason why this killer even remained ingrained in a lot of people's heads. You got this voice that plays it off cool and calm, and you're like, okay, you start getting into it. It's almost
He's kind of
alluring.
suave. He kind of invites you. He's like, hey, look, I kind of called the wrong number, but yeah, I'll just play it off. I'm just kind of bored. I just want to be able to talk to someone. Hey, so you're making popcorn? Yeah, well, I only eat popcorn in the movies. I always imagine he's like saying that as like being so like full of himself, like just like putting his hand on his chest and just shaking his head, going like, oh, well, I only like say that for special occasions, like
Yeah,
'cause
we're
I'm
breaking out the fine
like
china. Yeah.
fancy.
Oh
And,
man,
of course, he slips. He slips a little bit of a tease to get you to be aware, have your panic levels rising.
like who am I looking at?
And of course, if you don't play along to his phone calls, he like immediately snaps and just as you die on top like die just like your fucking mother.
Stuff like that. You go like, oh, that makes you go like, this turns real. It goes from 0 to 60 in like a minute, and but
The absolute funniest thing though is that this is the same voice actor that plays the main villain character for the Power Girls, Mojo Jojo.
oh god,
It's so I I I have not actually taken the time to actually look it up, but I had to imagine there's got to be YouTube editors that have edited bizarre phone calls where like the killer's voice is actually Mojo just repeating it, restating his intentions over just causes people extreme duress and fear.
mm-hmm. No, 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 it's Mojo Jojo, and you got Casey Becker crying, listening to Mojo Jojo scream over the phone. But anyway,
But
CQ did say a great idea. You know who should play the final Ghostface if there ever is like a complete end to the franchise? Maybe have Roger L. Jackson in the costume.
I don't know. The dude looks kind of getting in on his age.
Oh,
Like I definitely don't imagine to see the guy really like jaunting around chasing people and getting like tripped over his own overalls.
but you gotta admit though, he does have he can still be like a mastermind thing. Although he does kind of resemble Wayne Knight. Yes, he does do a lot of voice work, and hell, like he's known for he was the translator in frickin' Mars Attacks that same year. We come in peace. We come in peace. Oh yeah, but oh man,
But
like I said,
I I I I'm gonna point out as we go along with these movies is that I feel like with each killer when they do their performance for Ghostface, they kind of inflect the personality onto it. Like to be fair, the costume and the voice are just like it's all for show. It's just to like throw people off of who the identity is. But in a metatextual sense, if you kind of put those two together, the voice and the costume, it feels like it's like this entity almost. And like each entity kind of has like a personality going. Like for instance, when Billy plays it off, he's kind of like a cool suave. He's kind of like just like inviting, like basically just like
let's go watch a
a
movie
guy just
together.
looking to shoot the shit. Whenever Stu plays, so he's just kind of like rubbing in your face and just mocking you.
Like, let's say you fingered the wrong guy again, Sydney. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now, like, I'm pretty sure 80 to 70% of the phone calls were Billy. Like, the mind games is definitely Billy. Like the whole thing with Casey and the trivia.
Yeah,
But and what's funny is I think it works that you can see how to coordinate. It'd be like Billy would do the call and Stu would do the jumping. Like I think in the at the Prescott household during the first attack with Sid, I'm pretty sure Billy was on the porch and it was Stu had already found a way into the and wait
there was a huge lot of time where Sydney was kind of like blacked out.
also like I'm saying though you saw her when she was walking out saying I don't see you and she says you see what I'm doing. She was away from the door for a while and left it open enough time for someone to like swipe in unless somehow he swiped in without her knowing and was waiting for the right time to jump from the
That
closet.
that would be hard to do considering like if he's sneaking with those boots, like you think a porch would creak a little bit.
Mm. But he'll appear out of nowhere because he's not what he seems. but
That song you always like to put up.
oh man, like I said, but one thing I miss about the phones is that there's a little bit of a playfulness to it before that the screws really hook into you. Like, okay, this just turned real. Because
Yeah, I feel like it's some sequels, especially two and three, they just kind of like I botched that a little bit. It's like, okay, you know exactly what you're expecting here. Let's just cut to the chase. You're here for see the kills going on. I think three completely kiboshes that. That's basically like a vendetta going on.
mm-hmm. Yeah, like I said, well, I think in seven, I'm expecting to have some fun with that voice seemingly knowing, like having some history. Like for example, in Scream Two, the killer has some reaction to the fallout of stuff that happened in Scream One, and you can tell when that person is calling because they get a little more vindictive when certain names are brought up.
Yeah,
But yeah, like I said, each ghost face has a personality, and Billy's has a seduction to it, whereas Stu's more playful. Does that make sense?
yeah, childish even, immature.
Which makes sense with the oh no, my mom's gonna be mad with me. But I love his joke is like, what's your motivation? Motive? It's peer pressure.
Peer pressure. I do eat. I,
It's trip. It's on the tip of your tongue.
I'm too sensitive for my good.
Well, you can kind of see that with the way even Tatum punched him around. but yeah, so then
But
we have a cameos to talk about. Like a technically not a cameo.
we have
He's a character,
we
but
have the Henry Winkler playing the principal.
funny enough, we didn't get to go to his table, but he was present at the convention today, which is probably why I saw so many ghosts. I saw a lot of ghost face at the convention. I'm laughing, saying, "Oh, that's great. I'm here to talk about Scream, and I got a few guys actually with the ghost face and the big old white cell phone walking around." I'm like, huh. I guess that's meant to be a. I guess as a, the fact that what's great about Henry Winkler as the thing is he's a red herring for it. Maybe he could be the killer because there's a part where he like goes off the handle on some students doing pranks in the thing where he says the thing that would be justice would be stringing you up by your skin or whatever. Like he was like really like you're going, damn, this guy's unhinged. And then when he gets stabbed out, you go, okay, well, I guess it's not him.
Also, by way of him, we also have a shortest but funniest cameo that you have with Wes Craven playing as the janitor Fred, as he depicts himself wearing a fedora and a red and green sweater, which honestly I don't get it. That nothing comes to mind what he is referencing on that one.
But yeah, and like you little shits, what'd you call me? Not
Hey,
you.
Fred.
But what's funny is because it's Henry Winkler, anytime his character goes by a mirror, he does a thing to kind of like fix his hair. I'm expecting him to go, hey.
Hey, I'm pretty sure he's like maybe I should do as a proud too, but I think Partis said no, they'll be expecting that. Just write it off as long as you can.
You gotta admit though, he is super hilarious in Adam Sandler movies. I loved him in Waterboy. Water sucks, Gatorade's better. Oh yeah, but yeah, like I said, he gets taken out. We also got he's not a cameo per se, but he will be a big player character later. I have to keep joking. Oh hey Victor, uh, friggin' Lee Schreiber as
Cut,
Cotton Weary in
Cotton Weary, yeah.
he's on the TV in a prison suit. I'm pretty sure we won't see him again in this franchise. Oh hell, a big one too was the fact that there was Linda Blair, Regan herself from The Exorcist, playing the one reporter yelling at the cops, asking that the press has a right to know. Mm-hmm.
That's gotta be a trip.
Mm-hmm. And oh yeah, but there was another one that was like a big time, mix of. But like I said, the whole bits is fun little horror stuff there, and hell, even name wise, like they made fun of the fact that she says, "What if the killer's still out there?" And Tatum chose in. You're starting to sound like a Wes Carpenter movie, which I'm pretty sure John probably admired the shout out.
Oh, there's a. It's not really a big name, but they had a casting director, at least the Beach, as a reporter too.
Oh yeah. So this movie is the epitome of how do you handle being in a real life scary movie?
And basically, a lot of people would probably answer like, "Well, I'd totally do this, do that." It's like, okay, let's say for the argument you didn't immediately just like turn around and just leave the house. But the first sign of trouble, you said, "You know what? Okay, maybe I'll just check to see this house, but I would definitely not do this and that." So go, okay, but what if you did? It's like, well, if I did, then I would definitely make sure I would do this. Like, but then there's a problem. It's like you're still falling into the tropes. So you gotta know the tropes to get around and out of it.
Yeah, and like I said, I mean, it does have to question though. What would we do in such a situation like that? Like okay, I'll start with you. Like, what would you do like with this situation?
I would literally implement a buddy system from the get go.
Right.
Like, no one should be going out to get beer or checking out things on their own. They need to have somebody with them. 'Cause, and I know there's probably going to be like, they say, like, well, that defeats that's not going to be good because, like, what if someone is with the killer? It's like, well, then we know someone's going to be the killer then.
And like I said, didn't they make fun of this in How It Should Have Ended? With Randy's rules being more direct this time around.
There's more than enough times where the killer has tripped down and fell, and the knife falls out of hand. Literally, one time that happens when Tatum is in the garage and like Billy falls down, getting hit in the head by the fridge. He drops the knife, but of course Tatum, as complete ditz, like runs past it, not even getting the chance to grab it and
Towards the
defend
locked door
herself.
and going towards the locked door. I mean, and you gotta admit, Casey did try to pull a knife out, kitchen knife out as defense, but Ghostface just got the jump on her. I mean, he literally he would jump from behind and all that kind of stuff. You gotta admit, there was a moment I realized where she had the knife in hand. It's just the iconic. He turns around and she screams, seeing the face, and he just rams his head through the glass to get to her. That was probably Stu for sure. I'm sorry, he seemed like the meathead enough to but she had the kitchen knife in hand when she screamed right before he shoved his head through the glass. So a well placed knife probably could have gotten at least a cut through the mask or something. But she really panicked just seeing that face out of nowhere. I think.
Also, they don't have parents that just like ignore the curfew completely and just let their kids go off to party.
Mm-hmm. Like I said,
It's like, well, the curfew is only more of a guideline. Really, it's like, what's gonna happen? Are kids gonna run into some killer?
I honestly don't know. I think I would do the whole. I would like even if even if the killer said that cops will never make it, I'll still try to go for the cops. Call it right away. um.
I'd, I'd actually also take a step further with Gale and implement cameras more across the house,
Mm-hmm.
so that no everyone is like unchecked. Nobody's gonna sneak off to get their costume on in a dark corner or a closet somewhere.
And like you said though, I am with you with the whole when a weapon is present. Not, I said like I was telling my friend all the time. I cannot watch horror movies with Dad because he always has the same question whenever there's a cop or someone with a gun and there's a bad guy. Why don't they just shoot him? That's like his common question every time. Like when he was watching Scream, he got frustrated that the sheriff cop didn't, yeah, was right near the killer and didn't shoot him or whatever. Oh, he would have really hated the cops in Scream 4 then if I showed him that one.
Fuck Bruce Willis.
Yeah, but oh man, like yeah, but there are opportunities where the killers did leave themselves open for, uh, you know, getting an easy escape from. But well, we wouldn't have
I'd
much of a
also
movie.
I'd also expand the buddy system to like not only just have like one group of friends, but you should have like different plans with each person you're friends with. For instance, let's say I'm Sydney right now.
Hmm.
So I know Tatum. I asked Tatum like, okay, so if something were to happen, we should like do this and do that, do this. Conversely, I would talk to Dewey and say, okay, see you let me know which pocket you keep your gun in, so that I know how to handle like things, especially if you go down. Right?
Hmm.
It's basically you have different people where you have different things where you don't have where you do not let one another like know what you're thinking.
But yeah, so yeah, right. There's
Especially like it's Plan A with Tatum, Plan B with Dewey, Plan C with Gale. God knows why, but to be fair, I'm being Cindy in the context, but you know what I'm talking about.
yeah, I know, and like I said, that yeah, there's a lot of things that we could do, but in action, like she said, she made fun of the whole "don't go up the stairs," but when that was the only option to go up, there was nowhere else to go but up the stairs.
To be fair, I think she only goes upstairs because that she knows that's where she has like the uh, door frame that
and the
keeps her
computer.
safe.
You're right. All right
She has a
then.
computer, she has a phone literally up in her room, and the way to handle this. So even though we kind of make fun of her doing that, she's not going upstairs for like no reason. She's going upstairs for a reason.
Oh yeah, but I definitely would like do the buddy system, and if there's a chance for a weapon, I would definitely like. I would be a shit shot, but I would at
Oh,
least.
oh, oh, that's another rule. Always have yourself armed with something. Like I would say like maybe like a pocket knife or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Pocket knife, switchblades. Doesn't matter if you can pocket it, if you can take it out to defend yourself.
I'm surprised no one's done
Like
the whole.
pull out a fucking taser for God's
Yeah, I'm
sakes,
surprised no one's done the
or
taser
even a
on
taser
Ghostface yet.
gun.
I'm surprised we haven't seen cops do a taser on Ghostface yet. Huh.
That would be hilarious. It gets tasered in the mask, and just like gets static, like going goof silly and just flies to the ground, just like jeering
And what's funny is later when you
while
run
he just like pull his mask later
and when you run into a character that's, why do you have your hair like you just went got electrocuted? But yeah,
and trying to style.
yeah. So and again, what's funny is this movie it has. Oh, this is one of those movies where you get those albums of Scream, the music from the movie inspired by the so and so. We have all the artists. You got like Blue Oyster Cult. You got uh, there's all sorts of like iconic bands in this, and even the end credits has like a good like old song like where you go like, oh, that was a big hit in the pops. That was so '90s, that kind of stuff. But you also have the horrific, dissonant songs done by Marco Beltrami as the chase music composer, where you go like, it really does amplify the tension. And what's funny is it kind of makes small homages to John Carpenter's Halloween at times. Like when
Hmm.
when the bonus question what's going on, and Casey has to answer the question, the piano takes a bit of a Halloweenish spin, like boom 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 boom. It does like a Halloween reference. So, but I think it's best known for its crazy ass horns and the dancing woodwinds, as I call it. You know what it is? It's like a little woo, and then they start doing the big horns like bum 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 bum. It's like, I think it's just as iconic of horror music as Jason's chase theme from Two. That boom 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 boo 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 boom 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 doo 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 doo. That whole deal.
Yeah.
But of course, the song that I always keep going back to is "Red Right Hand," is because, well, I don't know, that song really just stuck with me, so I can't explain why.
Conversely, I feel like the Whisper to the Scream. Every time I hear the song playing on radio, I go like, "Yeah, Scream."
And
Of
then,
course, I also remember like it going through the credits line of having all the characters like have their mugs shown like they're in like a sitcom.
oh man, it was "School's Out" by Alice Cooper. It was done by the Last Hardman, and I guess "Don't Fear the Reaper" was played. Which I like that. Do 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 do. Yeah, that's a good one. "Don't Fear the Reaper." Wait, "Youth of America," "Whisper," "Don't Fear the Reaper," "Whisper to a Scream." That's a pretty good song. "School's Out," like again, that came out pretty well. Of course, like
Hmm.
the one song that has become like the theme for the franchise is Sydney's Lament. It's the Trouble in Woodsboro song. In fact, it's I almost used that as our opener song, but I couldn't resist the other one. But you know what it is, like most of the modern trailers for Scream, the minute you start hearing that little distorted electronic sound, because what's amazing is that there's screams mixed into the song. If you hear it again, you hear this like little. I can't describe it, but listen to Trouble in Woodsboro. You can swear there's screams mixed into the soundtrack.
Mm.
And then of course the Sydney's Lament, it just has, that's what sells Sydney altogether, that whole you know lone voice choir, and it's become her theme. That whenever it shows up in any of the Scream movies, I go, oh, they played the Sydney theme. I think it's just as attached to her as the Hall theme is attached to Michael, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Anyway, so overall reception, this movie was, no surprise, a smash hit for a December movie, I might add too. Of
A horror movie in December.
hmm like the Return of the Slasher with a meta twist, as it's known. Like I wonder what Ebert and Roger, if they talked about it. Let me see if they have a bird.
Oh God, this I gotta listen to
Oh,
because like as he mentioned earlier, like when horror had this like bad rep thing going on. One of the most notorious ones was Roger Ebert, who literally said like oh this movie is made for like adults. Don't listen to that. Of course, there's only one audience is trying to go for it. It's trying to like corrupt all the uses like such sleazy trash nonsense.
oh, looks
But go
like,
ahead. What did he say about it?
so it looks like because this is from his website. It looks like he gave Scream 3 out of 4 stars, and
Okay.
he says that Wes Craven's Scream violates one of the oldest rules in movie history. It's about characters who go to movies. They even heard of movie stars. They refer people like Tom Cruise, Richard Gere, Jamie Lee Curtis. They analyze motivations. True, they went to movies in The Last Picture Show and The Heroes of Clerks worked a video store and a video store, but even Bonnie and Clyde went to the movies, but those movies were about the act of going to the movies. Scream is about knowledge of the movies. The characters in Scream are in horror film. I didn't get to the end because it's a whole essay. So he goes, "What did I think about this movie? As a film critic, I liked it. I liked the in jokes and the self-aware characters. At the same time, I'm aware of the incredible level of gore in this film. It is really, and he puts emphasis on really violent. Is the violence
Mm-hmm.
diffused
There it is.
by the ironic way that the film uses it and comments on it? For me, it was. For some viewers, it will not be, and they will be horrified. Which category do you fall in? Here's an easy test. When I mentioned Fangoria, did you know what I was even talking about?"
Uh,
But yeah,
Cisco didn't like this, but he did like the sequel.
and yeah, Cisco gave it a thumbs down, but Ebert gave it a thumbs up. Hmm.
Hmm.
Now I know that there's no kid today who's going, "Who the hell are Cisco and Ebert?" But just to give you an idea that this movie was a hit with a, or even a guy like him says, "Yeah, it's a bit on the bloody side, but it's not trashy. It actually, it's interesting. Like he actually gave it up because he could have gave it 1 or 2 stars, saying it's more of your gore porn stuff, but he actually gave it like there's some thought behind it." So yeah, like this is though. Critics such as Roger Ebert, James Bardellini, and Owen Lieberman praised Scream's meta commentary about its horror predecessors and its self-referential humor, while also writing the self-parody diluted any suspense and criticized the excessive violence. Some critics said the film's intelligence and wit beneath the gore would be appreciated by sophisticated viewers, but Ebert was unsure if the degree of violence was diffused by the ironic way the film uses it and comments on it, which, like I mentioned. But everyone loved the original ideas that quickly exhausted them, but they wrote positively of the ensemble cast, and that's what made it successful. You got to it's this cast is a pretty outgoing cast. But yeah, it brought this is the movie that ushered in the new wave of '90s slasher films that tried to be like hell. It brought back Michael Myers after having a rather uneventful conclusion to the Thorn saga. That is just what the hell was even that? Halloween 6 is weird because it's like in that in between phase of the '80s and '90s where it's trying to be both eras, and it just
Fails
it.
so bad. It feels like it's a movie that's just out of touch and doesn't know what the fuck it's doing.
Thank God for H2O being. Now that's definitely more in the Scream vein, but I really do like H2O. I have a soft spot for that one.
Yep, me too.
And then hell, like you got your movies like I Know What You Did Last Summer, uh, and then it led to the movies in the 2000s like Valentine and all this other
Right.
stuff. Urban Legend.
Let's not forget like Bride of Chucky even, where they like played on the tropes and patterns of like the type of movies that even Chucky was being a part of, and just putting it at your face, going like, "Oh yeah, remember this? Yeah, that was something."
Mm-hmm. But like I said, it's horror movies that do it. And hell, you can argue that Jason Goes to Hell was trying to be ahead of the curve with like having one character comment on the joke of saying, "You're gonna try to get in the woods, get premarital sex, and get slaughtered." But the movie was just not where it wasn't really trying to be super meta, whereas this one was. So I don't know. Like I said, though, you're right. A lot of the movies in its wake ended up following the Scream trend. Hell, I know for a fact a lot of posters were copying that iconic ensemble cast in front of a black cover thing. Because, hell, even Dimension Films' Phantoms with Ben Affleck had a look like they're trying to copy the Scream. The Faculty poster looked like Scream. Like everybody was trying to be the next Scream. If you look at the late '90s horror, I'm pretty sure In Search of Darkness will probably hit on that in the new '90s edition.
But yeah, ultimately it was definitely a big hit, especially considering the fact that it was pretty much going strong throughout January, February. I think it went all the way up to March.
Yeah,
Even because it was just that big of a hit. It's like, well, shit. What other horror movies are gonna go up against this?
it's so funny. Um, it premiered on December 18th. Oh, same time as Force Awakens, 19th. And It grossed 6.4 million across 14,000 theaters, making it the fourth highest-grossing film of that weekend behind 101 Dalmatians and Jerry Maguire. Oh hell, even Beavis and Butthead Do America outranked them. But they say the performance was considered a failure by industry professionals, resulting in Variety labeling Scream dead on arrival. But then Madalena recounted herself in Craven observing a raucous audience for Beavis and Butthead Do America while Scream had maybe 7 people in there. No one was laughing or screaming. Waste. They were so dejected. But Scream had such positive audience word of mouth that it led the studio to increase the marketing and distribution budget, so that they actually expanded it, and then it contributed. Although it fell to fifth place in the second weekend, it increased its weekend gross to 9.1 million, and again rising to 10 million. So it actually started climbing up, kind of like what happened with Avatar, where Avatar came out like, it came out so, this is not going to catch on, and it just kept growing and growing and growing.
I was gonna say it almost sounds like Elemental.
Mm-hmm.
God, remember how people thought like, oh man, this is gonna be big Pixar's biggest loss, and it's like, oh wait, never mind, it's got a healthy revenue again.
Industry analysis show that most of the films released towards the end of that year were box office failures, including both big budget fare and a surge of films targeted towards women. Only a few were seen as successes, such as 101 Dalmatians, Beavis and Butthead, Jerry Maguire, Ransom, Scream, and Star Trek First Contact. Still the best damn Star Trek film out there. We gotta do something about that because it's the anniversary of Star Trek as a whole. Maybe after we're done, I don't know. But
I'm still a bit of a newbie Trekkie though.
the successful Scream resulted in additional financial compensation for the principal crew and cast, triggered by a box office surpassing 40 million and subsequent income of 10 million. Kennedy noted this is his first residual check that was double his salary. Well, yeah, Scream ended up being a big, box office smash after being thought, this ain't gonna catch on. So it brought horror in vogue again. But so yeah, that's what ended up happening. Obviously, as Stu himself put it, man, wait till you see what we got for the sequel, because these days you gotta have a sequel. But overall
Oh yeah,
thoughts.
so I argue like it's not the most rewatched Scream movie me that goes Scream 2. But at the same time, whenever I feel like I'm in a mood to like sit down and have like a nice piping hot cheese pizza, nice cola on the side, and I need to sit to watch, I feel like if like I see Scream like on the menu offering like a streaming service or anything like, I'll be like, yeah, I'm gonna definitely put that on.
Mm-hmm. And like what
And like I never feel the slightest bit tired or disappointed after watching it like for the upteenth time in a row. For God's sakes.
what do you love about it? That it just that you just love about it.
Well, he's stated there's the tension. It's the who done it mystery
Even though
that's actually done pretty smart, pretty well. And of course, there's the characters, especially consider the fact that we know where these characters are going to go in this franchise in the future, and just see their humble beginnings, and just just kind of live out life despite the fact that their lives are literally playing out a horror movie. Anyways, they're just trying to live it out. They're not trying to do the whole like shtick of like, oh, we need to figure out what the mystery of this Ghostface character is. Like, no, what we need to do is like keep our heads down and keep ourselves safe from being stalked by this like asshole.
Yeah. Also, I love that the ghost face costume is used as a they say this is sold in every dime store in the county, which would make it hard to track when they show that the Father Death costume is very popular. And we're just gonna talk about the look of Ghostface himself. Just it was funny when they were coming. I know we're going back to Killers. We're talking about thoughts, but closing thoughts. But I'm going back. I love the movie mostly because again the cast is great, the mystery, but the, it just created a face of horror that I think is indelible. I mean, you still have people to this day putting on that mask, and it's like I remember there was a haunted house at an elementary school, and they would do this joke of look closely right here, and there's always guys dressed up in ghost face masks doing the big woo, and I think that kind of made me even more scared of the ghost face design personally when I was a kid. But there's just something about it, the simplicity of the face. Like they were drawing all these concepts of like clowns and ghosts and scary like things to be the face, and they couldn't figure it out. Then they go to a scouting location, and in this old lady's attic is just Fun World mask, this discarded Fun World mask, and they thought that that's it. And what's funny is how the Weinsteins thought that the mask looked goofy and it wouldn't be scary, and then they had to shoot quickly the Casey scene, and they showed them the scene, and they said, "Okay, we were wrong. You guys knew what you were doing with that mask." And again, it's created a style, an iconic thing that's been followed up on many times in other genres. Trying to be it, and like I said, the mask itself for the ghost face, the voice, the costume, it all just comes together to create something that's evergreen, something that lasts for a long time. And I think that's part of why I like, because again, this was Kevin's way of keeping the light on, and it ended up being giving us a great franchise that we're still talking about today. So that's why I love it. Because we all have our favorites. Like, do I like Scream 5 or Scream 4 or Scream 3 better? Like, yeah, but the first one will always be like, it's the first one. It has almost no peer. If that makes any sense.
And considering that, I lost my train of thought a little bit, but I definitely feel like, especially in this movie, where we definitely get a sense of, like, if you're not savvy to the horror genre, you'll still be able to get it. If you are savvy to it, you'll just notice all the in jokes and all the ins and outs, the tropes, the way the characters are portrayed, everything. It's kind of like have your cake and eat it kind of thing.
Oh, and according to this, it said that Scream was one of the highest grossing slasher films of all time for a long time running until it was eventually dethroned by Halloween 2018. So it held that record on for a long time.
Yep. Uh,
But, oh man, and like I said though, so I guess if we were to ever get the call and they asked us the question, "What's your favorite scary movie?" I think this would like be one of our first go-to answers. Oh, Scream.
well, you'd see that I would end up saying like Blair Witch Project.
Oh yeah, that's yours. Would
It's my
Alien?
all-time favorite movie. Like,
Would Alien
one
qualify as
thing
a scary
one
movie?
thing I'm gonna point out. One thing I'm gonna point out is that while I feel like Nightmare on Elm Street is my favorite horror franchise, I feel like Scream is one of the best horror franchises that's consistently strong. Like, even at its weak points, like, to be fair, it was kind of like out of its control of like how it did what it did because of like outside parameters interfering with it. But even then, it was still pretty much like a solid 7 out of 10.
There's not one that you can point to that one and say straight up, that
Oh, I do
one's.
not want to watch that. Skip this thing. It's so bad. It's horrible.
But,
Ugly. Get
but
rid of it.
I'm pretty sure with every other franchise you could find one. Halloween for you, it's probably
Five.
yes. I'm with you there. Um, yeah, I at least Resurrect.
Nightmare on Elm Street, as I said, it's a little bit hard, but if technically speaking, the remake, I would do without, but even then, it wouldn't really count because we're talking about the main like franchise as a whole with Robert Englund. As you feel like pointing at remakes, like, oh, that's bad. It's like, well, yeah, no shit. The sky is blue. What's your point?
Like I think with Nightmare, the one I would watch least would probably be Freddy's Dead, but although that one has fun in it.
I do like how like some Robert's definitely having a lot of fun with that one, especially where he's like playing the Wicked Witch of the West to John Doe, or doing a literal like a scene that's ripped straight out of Roadrunner Wile E. Coyote Looney Tunes bit.
Yeah. But okay, make him. That one does have its fun. Let's see, the Halloween franchise was talking about, and let's see, I wonder when the final chapter just turned you off entirely. But you're right.
Despicable.
But in Scream, you can't really say, "Oh, that's the bad one." I'm sure you can have one say that one's weaker, that one's stronger. But you can't say that's like.
I think a lot of fans would agree. It's like, yeah, the Thor's the weakest, but that's to be expected. It was 2000. It's like it, everyone was just being like a little bit tame and PC because of. We'll get to it when we get to it.
I know, and
Hopefully, with an added person.
I would say, to quote Tony Stark, I would respectfully disagree about its strengths versus the weaker comparative. I mean, it's just we'll get to that when we talk about it. But like I said, we're here to kick off a franchise. This is the first of many. Mm-hmm. It'd be Dream Child
And
for me. I said, but at least watch. No, his favorite watched Elm Street, and no, I've watched Dream Warrior, the Dream Master the least, which I think Dream Master does have one of my favorite kills in it.
Dreamhouse is my favorite.
Uh, although,
I literally went out of my way to get the signature of Alice's actress. For God's sakes.
yeah, but I don't know. I think it's not that he watches it. It's just that's just one that he doesn't come across all the time. Oh, I know for you, your Friday film, when it comes between Jason X and I mean, Jason Goes to Hell and Jason Takes Manhattan. At least he'll take Manhattan for
Ugh.
the Manhattan bit.
Take Manhattan feels like a fucking snore fest. It's like, are we there yet? Are we fucking there? To be fair, at least its own positive is like, at least it still feels like a Friday the 13th movie, whereas Jason Goes to Hell,
What was
fuck
even
was
that?
Eli even thinking?
Yeah, but all right. But like I said though, we kicked off a horror franchise. We keep coming back for more. Like Stu himself said, you got to have a sequel. So next time we convene for Scream Team, we will
We'll
be.
be talking about, like, see if, like, someone tries to up the stakes with trying to get even more meta their uh, motivations, or if it's something a little bit familiar, something we all know too well.
And I know for a fact I would have things to say about the whole sequels versus original type notice because, oh, I think we're gonna spend a good chunk alone.
You got years of hindsight to talk about that one.
Yeah, but for a fact I got things to talk about about Kirsch talking about Cameron stuff. Yeah. Oh, we'll talk. We'll get to that when we get to that. But until next time, this is Johnny Cat 79 signing off with my co-host Erica, aka Dark Neon.
And we'd like to give a special, absolute, no fucking thank you to the governing school board of the, what was it?
Santa
Saint
Clara.
Santa Rosa High School.
Yeah. Okay, we'll catch you at the next one.